Chapter 38-23. People who went on missions together. When Yun Chujio strolled to the bounty hall, most of the outer disciples had already been assigned tasks. These tasks were assigned by the manager of the bounty hall in advance. They were only called over to collect the mission files so that they could understand the specific situation of the mission. Yun Chujio opened her own mission file and looked at it. The corners of her mouth could not help but curl up. It was interesting. It seemed that some people were really courting death. There were two old acquaintances in the list of disciples on the mission file. They were Luo Hai and Yu Bo. Yun Chujio didn't believe that this was a coincidence. Someone must have deliberately arranged it. Otherwise, how could a newbie like her be paired with Luo Hai and the others? This was obviously abnormal. It seemed that Luo Hai and Yu Bo planned to kill her when they were doing the mission. After all, once they were out of the sect, it would be much more convenient to make a move. A trace of viciousness flashed across Yun Chujio's eyes. Want to kill her? It was a good opportunity to kill these two eyesores so that they wouldn't cause trouble for her in the future. Yun Chujio looked at the names of the disciples in the other groups, but she didn't have any impression of them. She didn't know if they were Luo Hai's people. Yun Chujio glanced at the contents of the mission again and went to the Luoyan mountain to investigate the reason for the sudden decline in the production of refined iron ore. The Nameless Sword sect had a large number of forging swords, so they had a huge demand for refined iron ore. As a result, the Nameless Sword sect had many mines under their name. The iron ore in the Fallen Goose Mountain could only be considered medium-sized among these mines. There had been no problems all along, but the quantity of refined iron ore sent over recently had suddenly decreased. Manor Master Sima, who was in charge of the Fallen Goose Mountain, explained that there had been a fault in the mine with a small amount of refined iron ore. They could only continue mining after the fault had been fully exploited, which was why the production had suddenly decreased. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Refined iron ore was extremely important to the Nameless Sword sect. Even though they did not have any doubts about it, they still decided to send their disciples to check it out. Yun Chujio did not take this mission to heart. She felt that there was nothing to be done about it. The reason why Luo Hai and Yu Bo chose this mission was because they wanted to kill her. Naturally, they would not accept a sect mission that was too difficult. As the departure time was the next morning, after Yun Chujio left the bounty hall, she went straight to Sword Forging Hall number 9. When Hall Master Zhuge saw Yun Chujio coming over, although he still had a straight face, it was not difficult to see that he was still very happy to see Yun Chujio coming over. Yun Chujio babbled about the matter of going out to do a sect mission. Zhuge Dong said worriedly, "Junior sister Yun, Luo Hai and Yu Bo are on good terms with Wan Pengcheng. I'm afraid it will be disadvantageous for you." Yun Chujio laughed lightly. "Don't worry. Those two idiots are not my match." Hall Master Zhuge glared at her unhappily. "Their spiritual powers are much higher than yours. Moreover, they are working together. Don't let your guard down." Yun Chujio blinked her eyes and only smiled without saying a word. Hall Master Zhuge knew that the little girl in front of him had an idea, so he did not say anything more. Instead, Zhuge Dong reminded her again, "Junior sister Yun, that Mu Jiang has a good character. You can get closer to him and be considered a helper. It is said that Zhao Hui is very tactful. He is probably a fence-sitter. You have to be on your guard. Perhaps he has already been bribed by Luo Hai and Yu Bo. As for the other three, I don't have much contact with them and I haven't heard any rumors, so you can observe them again." Chapter 38-24. Mu Jiang. Yun Chujio nodded obediently and agreed. After chatting for a while, she left the number 9 Sword Forging Hall. As soon as Yun Chujio arrived at her courtyard, Jiaorini rushed over. "Junior sister Yun, I heard that you're going on a sect mission with Luo Hai and the others? You have to be careful. I saw Uncle Master Wan talking to them for quite a while yesterday, and I vaguely heard your name a few times." Yun Chujio naturally knew the purpose of Jiaorini's words. She was afraid that if she died outside, the poison in his body would not be able to be cured. Yun Chujio took out a pill from her storage ring and handed it to Jiaorini. "Eat this pill. The poison won't take effect for at least 3 months." Jiaorini originally wanted to put away the pill and let the people of the medical center take a look. However, under Yun Chujio's cold gaze, he had no choice but to sadly swallow the pill. "While I'm away, help me keep an eye out for news regarding the number 9 Forging Sword Hall and Zhangli. If you do well, I'll detoxify you when I come back." Although Jiaorini was puzzled as to why Yun Chujio would pay attention to the news about Zhangli, he still readily agreed. The next day, Yun Chujio arrived outside the Nameless Sword sect's mountain gate according to the agreed time. At this time, there were already many outer sect disciples gathered outside the gate. After the members of the group had gathered, They immediately flew their flying spirit tools and left. Yun Chujio was looking around when she heard a displeased voice. Yun Chujio, why aren't you on time at all? We agreed to meet here at midnight, why are you only here now? Yun Chujio followed the voice and saw that it was Luo Hai who spoke. Yun Chujio's heart skipped a beat. Yesterday, the manager of the bounty hall had informed her that the time was 25 minutes past midnight. It seemed like he did it on purpose. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. She walked up to Luo Hai and did not explain further. It was better to not talk about things that could be done. Luo Hai saw that Yun Chujio looked like a dead pig that was not afraid of boiling water. His expression became even more contemptuous. If it wasn't for the fact that your spiritual power is too low and I'm afraid that you won't be able to complete the sect's mission, the higher-ups wouldn't have assigned you to our group. I didn't expect you to not be punctual. You're really a burden. Yun Chujio glanced at him. Senior brother Luo, if you continue to give a long speech, you'll waste even more time. Luo Hai choked and snorted coldly. He did not introduce the members of the group to Yun Chujio. He directly summoned his flying spiritual weapon and waited for everyone to go up before leaving the Nameless Sword sect. As Yun Chujio's unpunctuality had delayed everyone's journey, the others in the group treated her very coldly. However, one of the loyal-looking disciples nodded slightly at Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio was slightly stunned. It was actually him? When Yun Chujio came to the Nameless Sword sect and prepared to risk her life to ascend to heaven, there was once a loyal-looking disciple who tried to dissuade her. It was this disciple in front of her. Yun Chujio had a good impression of this disciple. She smiled and said, "May I know how to address this senior brother?" "Junior sister Yun, Mu Jiang. We met once when you entered the sect," Mu Jiang said with a simple and honest smile. So he was Mu Jiang? Senior brother Dong was right. Mu Jiang was obviously a good person. "Senior brother Mu, can you help me introduce the other senior brothers?" Yun Chujio was best at following the flow. Seeing that Mu Jiang was easy to talk to, she said with a smile. Mu Jiang nodded and helped Yun Chujio introduce the remaining 4 people, Zhao Hui, Tao Zhong, Wu Dali and Chen Chao. When Mu Jiang introduced them, other than Zhao Hui who smiled and nodded, the other 3 male disciples all looked like they did not care about Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio did not mind it. If she had to live off others' expressions, she would have died 1,000 times already. Along the way, Luo Hai and Yu Bo had repeatedly slandered Yun Chujio intentionally or unintentionally. It was nothing more than words like not being punctual and having low spiritual power that would drag everyone down. This made Tao Zhong and the others even more dissatisfied with Yun Chujio. Tao Zhong glanced at Yun Chujio with disgust, then he said, "Yun Chujio, no matter how much you torment us in the sect, it has nothing to do with us. But this sect mission concerns our vital interests. If it's because of you that we didn't complete the sect mission, then don't blame us for not being polite." Yun Chujio looked at him indifferently. "Don't worry, I'm a very lazy person. I won't cause trouble." Tao Zhong snorted. "That's for the best. Otherwise, don't blame us for ignoring you when you're in danger." Seeing that the atmosphere was a little awkward, Zhao Hui quickly changed the topic. Yun Chujio couldn't be bothered to argue with a bunch of idiots, so this matter was over. After a few days of flying and walking through a valley where flying was prohibited, the group finally arrived at the Fallen Goose Villa. Manor Master Sima of the Fallen Goose Mountain Villa warmly let Yun Chujio and the others into the villa, and his attitude was very respectful. Actually, this was understandable. The Fallen Goose Mountain Villa was a small force that relied on the Nameless Sword sect, so they naturally would lower their stance. As the small leader of the group, Luo Hai put on a good show. After some small talk, they finally got to the main topic. "Manor Master Sima, tell me in detail about the refined iron mine." Manor Master Sima's originally smiling face was instantly filled with worry. "My lords, to tell you the truth, I've been really worried to death recently. Originally, the Luo Yen Mountain iron mine under our management had always been smooth sailing. But recently we were unlucky enough to mine into a fault. Although there are refined iron ores in it, the distribution is very scattered and it's very hard. Not to mention the time and effort it takes. The output has decreased drastically. I don't even have the face to meet all of you." Luo Hai said casually, "Manor Master Sima, you don't have to blame yourself too much. This is something that cannot be helped. If the situation is true, I believe that the sect will not blame you." Manor Master Sima said some polite words with gratitude and then said, "All of you have worked hard on the journey. Let's rest for the night first. Tomorrow I will accompany all of you to the mine to check it out, okay?" Luo Hai nodded his head and agreed without the slightest hesitation. He felt that the mission this time was too simple. After the mission was completed, he would create some accidents on the way back and kill that Yun Chujio. Everything would be fine. Manor Master Sima was very enthusiastic. Regardless of whether it was the food or the accommodation, they were all meticulously arranged. No one could find any fault with them. The mine was still tens of miles away from the Wild Goose Down Mountain village. Due to the ban on flying, everyone could only take the carriage of the Wild Goose Down Mountain village to head there. Yun Chujio sat in the carriage, nibbling on a fruit as she looked at the scenery on both sides of the road. Tao Zhong coldly snorted in disdain. Some people are really lucky. On their first mission they can execute it together with senior brother Luo. They don't have to put in any effort. As long as they follow, they can earn contribution points. Wu Dali and Chen Chao also chimed in. Their words were full of ridicule for Yun Chujio's luck. Yun Chujio acted as if she had heard a dog barking and did not even look at the three of them. Tao Zhong talked for a long time but did not see Yun Chujio reply. He could not help but become angry from embarrassment. Yun Chujio, are you deaf or mute? Did you not hear what I said? Chapter 38-26. I want to go to the toilet. Just as Yun Chujio was about to teach him how to speak in human language, her eyes that were looking at the scenery outside suddenly shrank, and she looked outside carefully. Tao Zhong was about to flare up when Mu Jiang said with a simple and honest smile, Junior brother Tao, junior sister Yun is still young. She can't help but be a little curious when she sees the scenery here. She didn't mean to ignore you. Zhao Hui also said with a smile, Junior brother Tao, it's still more important for us to complete the sect's mission. Let's not argue with junior sister Yun. Tao Zhong saw that Mu Jiang and Zhao Hui had come out to smooth things over and felt that he had earned enough face. He pursed his lips and said, Yun Chujio, since you're not saying anything, then do you tacitly agree with what we said? You're a waste. You're just a burden. Tao Zhong saw that Yun Chujio still did not say anything, and he looked even more pleased. He thought that she was afraid of him. Don't look at how she was showing off in the sect. Once she left the sect, she would be afraid. Mu Jiang shook his head. He really did not understand why Tao Zhong and the others were targeting Yun Chujio. Although there were some rumors in the sect that junior sister Yun was always causing trouble, after interacting with her for the past few days, this junior sister Yun was very obedient. It seemed that the rumors couldn't be completely believed. Right at this moment, Yun Chujio shouted loudly, stop the car, I want to go to the toilet. I can't hold it anymore. Mu Jiang, not to mention Mu Jiang, even Tao Zhong and the others who looked down on Yun Chujio were dumbfounded. Was it really alright for a girl to be so wild? After the coachman consulted Manor Master Sima, he parked the carriage by the side of the road. Yun Chujio clutched her stomach and got out of the carriage. Then she went into the small forest by the side. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Tao Zhong curled his lips in disdain and said to everyone, not only does this Yun Chujio have low spiritual power, but her words and actions are also vulgar. She is simply a disgrace to our nameless sword sect. Wu Dali and Chen Chao also chimed in with a few sarcastic remarks. After a long while, Yun Chujio did not return. Tao Zhong said even more disdainfully, look, I already said that this Yun Chujio is a hindrance. It has been so long since she went to the toilet. What's the use of such trash? Mu Jiang frowned. It had indeed been a long time. He quickly got off the carriage and wanted to check it out. However, he was a man, so he could not go in to look for her. He could only stand at the edge of the small forest and shout a few times. Fortunately, Yun Chujio's response came from the forest very quickly. Mu Jiang was slightly relieved. As long as nothing happened, it was good. Not long after, Yun Chujio came out with a smile. She held a few branches with red wild fruits in her hands and handed one to Mu Jiang. Senior brother Mu, these wild fruits are very sweet. Take it and eat. Mu Jiang was speechless. Why did the last toilet bring back these wild fruits? Luo Hai and Yu Bo sat in another carriage. The two of them looked at each other. This Yun Chujio was really courting death. The more she acted like this, the worse Tao Zhong and the others' impression of her would be. When that time came, it would be easier for them to find an opportunity to attack. Moreover, after returning to the sect, Tao Zhong and the others would not say anything. As expected, after Yun Chujio returned to the carriage, Tao Zhong and the others mocked her again. They almost pointed at Yun Chujio's nose and scolded her. Zhao Hui watched from the side coldly. He was very puzzled. This Yun Chujio even dared to beat up Elder Wan's grandson. Why would she swallow her anger this time? This was too unlike her style of doing things. Zhao Hui had a good relationship with the sect and was well informed. He naturally knew that during this mission, Luo Hai and Yu Bo would probably attack Yun Chujio. However, He did not know whether to stand by and do nothing or help this little girl. He had to think about it again. Chapter 38:27 The smell of blood. Very soon, the carriage arrived at the Luo Yen mountain mine. Manor Master Sima accompanied Yun Chujio and the others into the mine. As they walked, he explained the situation of the mine. After walking for a while, the group arrived at the place where they were mining. As expected, there were some faults. Seeing this, Luo Hai said to Manor Master Sima, "It seems that what you said is the truth. We will report it to the sect truthfully. You don't have to worry too much. After these faults are fully mined, the output will naturally increase." Manor Master Sima thanked him profusely again and accompanied everyone out. Tao Zhong suddenly frowned. "Manor Master Sima, why do I smell a bloody smell?" Manor Master Sima looked at Tao Zhong in confusion and sniffed. "No, what Lord Tao Zhong smells is the smell of refined iron, or right?" Tao Zhong sniffed again. "That's not right. My sense of smell has always been more sensitive than ordinary people. This is not the smell of refined iron, or, it's clearly the smell of fresh blood." Tao Zhong sniffed a few more steps as he spoke. Then he pointed at a spot in the mine and said, "The smell of blood seems to come from this place. The closer you get, the stronger the smell." Mu Jiang was honest. He quickly went over and said in surprise, "It's true. I really didn't pay much attention just now. When we get closer, there is indeed a smell of blood." Luo Hai and Yu Bo also walked closer and smelled it. Their faces couldn't help but change slightly. There really was a bloody smell. Without waiting for Manor Master Sima to explain, Yun Chujio rushed to say, "Aya, what bloody smell? This is the smell of refined iron ore. I smelled this smell in Sword Forging Hall number 9. The quality of refined iron ore is not pure. This is the smell. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, let's go. It's more important to return to the sect to report our mission. If we have the time, we might as well return to the sect to practice our sword skills." Manor Master Sima also said from the side, "Yes, Lord Yun is right. This is the smell of refined iron ore with impure quality. How can this fine mine have the smell of blood?" Luo Hai nodded when he heard that. He believed what Manor Master Sima and Yun Chujio said. That's right. This was a mine, how could there be the smell of blood? Unexpectedly, Tao Zhong glared fiercely at Yun Chujio. "What do you trash know? This is clearly the smell of blood." Luo Hai frowned. "Junior brother Tao, it's true that you occasionally smell wrongly. Let's go. It's more important for us to hurry back to the sect." Unexpectedly, Tao Zhong snatched a miner's pickaxe and dug a few times. An even stronger smell of blood came from the mine. Tao Zhong was about to continue digging when Yun Chujio suddenly came forward and grabbed his arm. She threw the pickaxe to the side and said, "Senior brother Tao, did you not sleep well yesterday? Why are you talking nonsense? Go, let's hurry back to the sect." Tao Zhong did not notice that Yun Chujio had hit his mute acupoint. He was so angry that his face turned red, but he could not say a word. Zhao Hu's eyes suddenly shrank. He quickly came over to hold Tao Zhong's other arm and said, "That's right. This is clearly the smell of refined iron ore. Let's return to the sect to report our mission." Luo Hai and Yu Bo seemed to have thought of something. They laughed and said, "Manor Master Sima, this junior brother of mine has been having a fever recently. His brain is not very good. We will take our leave and return to the sect now." Although Mu Jiang did not know what had happened, he followed behind everyone and prepared to leave the mine. Manor Master Sima's expression was as usual as he said with a smile, "My lords, why don't we stay at the mountain villa for a night before leaving?" Chapter 38:28 and so on. No, we still have to rush back to the sect to report our mission. If there's a chance in the future, well, come and bother Manor Master Sima again. Although Luo Hai's tone was still rather calm, his forehead was covered with fine beads of sweat. Seeing this, Yun Chujio cursed in her heart. Fuck, a bunch of trash. If it wasn't for the fact that she couldn't escape on her own, she wouldn't have cared about these idiots. The smile on Manor Master Sima's face was still the same as before. "Since that's the case, I won't keep you any longer. I'll send you off." When Manor Master Sima said, "I'll send you off," there was an indescribable strangeness in his tone that made people feel very uncomfortable. Luo Hai couldn't be bothered to think too much and nodded his head perfunctorily. At this moment, even the slowest Mu Jiang felt that something wasn't right. Only Tao Zhong was still struggling non-stop. Zhao Hui directly restrained his spiritual power and dragged him out. When everyone left the mine, Luo Hai and Yu Bo did not put on airs like when they came. They took the initiative to invite Mu Jiang and Zhao Hui to their carriage. Unexpectedly, Mu Jiang rejected with a silly smile. He had a hunch that something was going to happen, and Yun Chujia's spiritual power was the weakest. He felt that it was better to sit with Yun Chujio. Zhao Hu's eyes flashed, and he also rejected Luo Hai's invitation. Luo Hai and Yu Bo could not help but feel a little angry. In the end, they let Wu Dali and Chen Chao, whose spiritual power was slightly weaker, get into their carriage. Manor Master Sima had been watching from the side with a faint smile on his face, but the smile did not reach his eyes. After everyone got into the carriage, the convoy set off. Inside the carriage, Zhao Hui hesitated for a moment, but still took out a piece of paper and pen to write 2 words and handed it to Yun Chujio. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Yun Chujio saw the 2 words, "Is there a trap?" and thought to herself that this Zhao Hui was indeed much smarter than those people. Otherwise he wouldn't have helped her subdue Tao Zhong in the first place. Yun Chujio didn't say anything and nodded at him. Zhao Hui took out a pen and paper to write, "What should we do?" And Yun Chujio picked up a pen to write a word, "Wait." Zhao Hui looked at the dog-like word, "Wait." His heart was like a beeping dog. This was equivalent to not saying anything, okay? He glared at Tao Zhong again without leaving a trace. It was all because of this good-for-nothing who could not accomplish anything. Yun Chujio had already made things clear, but he insisted on saying that there was a smell of blood. He was afraid that this matter could not be resolved. Tao Zhong more or less understood the intention of Yun Chujio and Zhao Hui. However, he felt that the 2 of them were making a fuss over nothing. Perhaps it was just a trivial matter. At this moment he smelled a faint fragrance. However, before he could make any gesture, he already did not know anything. Yun Chujio looked at the 3 people who fainted in the car and was speechless. When she came here, she realized that something was wrong. Logically speaking, there should be some small-sized demon beasts on both sides of the road, but she didn't see any. Even if the demon beasts were afraid that humans wouldn't appear, there should be claw marks or feces marks on the ground, but there weren't any. This was too abnormal. She took the opportunity to go to the latrine and caught a spirit bee. The news she received was that about a month ago, all the demonic beasts ran towards the mine ahead, but none of them came back. Yun Chujio felt that there must be something fishy about this. Just as she was about to run back to report the news, she found that there were people from the Sunset Villa guarding the other end of the forest, so she had no choice but to break a few wild fruits. Chapter 38-29. Evil formation reappeared. Yun Chujio originally had a sliver of hope in her heart. After arriving at the mine, she should be fine after giving a few perfunctory words and leaving immediately. Who would have thought that that idiot Tao Zhong would make such a big fuss out of it? He was simply courting death. Bai Li and the others were not allowed to fly within a few hundred li of the Sunset Glow Villa. Furthermore, there was no way to use the talisman, so there was no way to send a message back to the sect quickly. How could they be a match for Manor Master Sima and the others just by relying on them? Yun Chujio gave the antidote to the sleeping powder to the 3 of them. After the 3 of them woke up, Tao Zhong was just about to speak when he was scared back by Yun Chujio's fierce gaze. At this moment, a sound came from outside the carriage. Yun Chujio gave the 3 of them a look. The 3 of them understood and restrained their auras. They closed their eyes and pretended to be unconscious. The curtain of the carriage was lifted and then put down. A voice came from outside, "Manor Master, they have all fainted. Why don't we kill them now?" "No, turn around and bring them to the blood pool. The blood of cultivators will be more effective," Manor Master Sima said coldly. The carriage turned around and went back to the mine. In fact, it didn't go far, so a moment later the carriage entered the mine again. During this time, Tao Zhong wanted to speak a few times. In order to prevent him from doing bad things, Yun Chujio directly cut him unconscious with a knife. Seeing this, Zhao Hui and Mu Jiang were extremely obedient. They closed their eyes and pretended to be dead. Yun Chujio did not dare to peek, but she heard a clang in her ears. It must have opened the so-called entrance to the blood pool. Following that, someone dragged Yun Chujio and the others out of the carriage like dead dogs. Hei Xinjiu endured it and did not say a word. She hated in her heart. Damn it, it's not too late for little Jiu to take revenge. You guys will suffer in a while. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Yun Chujio soon smelled a strong smell of blood. She opened her eyes slightly. Although she could not see the whole picture, she saw many people and demonic beasts fixed on the wall. The blood in her body flowed to a certain place. Although Yun Chujio could only see a tiny bit of the scene, she had seen this situation once in the Longping Mountain of the Qingshan continent. She knew that this was the evil formation used by the godly demon palace to search for the Eye of Earth Profound. When she heard that all the demonic beasts had gone missing, She had already had such a guess in her heart. She did not expect that it was really so. Her heart was a little heavy. It seemed that the Divine Devil Hall had already infiltrated all the continents. However, these people did not seem to know her. Otherwise, based on the hatred the Divine Devil Hall had for her, they would have already killed her on the horse carriage. Perhaps they only knew her name but did not know her appearance. That was why they were like this. Just as Yun Chujio was slightly distracted, she was ruthlessly thrown onto the ground. Someone shouted, "I've sent you a few more fresh ones. Moreover, they are disciples of the Nameless Sword sect." Very good. Their spiritual power is of a high level, and the spiritual energy in their blood is even denser. Fix them to the wall. Just as Zhuang Ding bent down to pull Yun Chujio suddenly attacked and killed the man with a kitchen knife. At the same time, Mu Jiang and Zhao Hui also moved. Mu Jiang's spiritual power was slightly higher, so he dealt with the two Zhuang Ding in front of him alone, while Zhao Hui splashed Tao Zhong, Luo Hai and the others awake with cold water. The Zhuang Ding did not expect that the unconscious man would suddenly attack them, so they let Yun Chujio and the others succeed. However, they quickly reacted and surrounded Yun Chujio and the others in the middle. Chapter 38:30 Competition. When Luo Hai and the others saw the scene in front of them, their legs couldn't help but go weak. This place seemed to be a huge stone room, and in the middle of it was a large array. In the middle of it was carved a huge spider lily, and around it were several array leaves. On top of it were drawn complicated ancient runes. Tens of thousands of demon beasts and humans were fixed to the ground and suspended in the air. They weren't dead, but the blood in their bodies was continuously pouring into the blood pool around the array board. This formation disc was not activated by spirit stones, but by the blood and life force of the demonic beasts. It was truly frightening. At this moment they were surrounded by dozens of people. Those people were all wearing the clothes of the Zhuang Ding of the Sunset Manor. At this moment, they no longer had their previous humility, and their faces were filled with a ferocious killing intent. Just as Luo Hai and the others were still in shock. A small leader inside the Zhuang Ding sneered, "I didn't expect that you guys would not fall for it. This is good too. Let us experience the abilities of the so-called disciples of the big sects. Which one of you will compete with my men?" The small leader was sure that Yun Chujio and the others would not be able to escape even if they had wings. Therefore he was not worried that they would be able to escape, and he had the intention to play with them. Luo Hai's eyes flashed and he snorted coldly, "With just you guys? Even our junior sister Yun, who has the weakest spiritual power, is much stronger than you guys. Junior sister Yun, you should teach them a lesson." Hearing Luo Hai's words, Yun Chujio was angry and happy. A person who was stupid to a certain extent could not be saved. At this time, shouldn't they work together to escape? Even if they wanted to kill her, they should have done so after they escaped, right? Zhao Hui frowned. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have saved Luo Hai and Yu Bo. At this time they were still fighting among themselves. It was simply too stupid. That small leader had an expression of wanting to watch a good show. "Yo, then let's invite Lord Yun to spar with my subordinates." However, the Nameless Sword sect actually still has trash at the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm. It's really surprising. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Those Zhuang Ding also laughed along. They were like cats playing with mice. Mu Jiang frowned and blocked in front of Yun Chujio. "Junior sister Yun, let me do it." Yun Chujio smiled and shook her head at him. "No need, let me do it. Who asked me to be the most useless?" However, Yun Chujio used Mu Jiang's cover to wink at Zhao Hui. Zhao Hui nodded his head subtly. Yun Chujio was glad that there was a smart person in the team, or else it would be even worse. Yun Chujio said with disdain, "Although I'm the weakest, I have no problem dealing with scum like you. What? Give me some space or else I won't be able to use it." The leader curled his lips. This stinky girl's spiritual power was not that great, but her tone was not small. He waved his hand and the Zhuangding men stepped back to make way for him. A strong and stocky Zhuangding walked to the middle with his lips curled. "Little girl, I advise you to obediently surrender. Otherwise you will suffer." Yun Chujio pointed at the humans and demonic beasts that were fixed to the wall and said, "No matter how bitter it is, how can it be as bitter as theirs? You are really not human. You actually destroyed humanity for your own selfish reasons. Do you still have the face to live?" The burly man was immediately angered from embarrassment. "Damn girl. It was fine if you had obediently become a blood bull, but you just had to be so sharp-tongued. When I catch you, I will teach you a lesson." Chapter 38-31 Are you Yin Chujio? Don't talk nonsense if you can fight. They'll let you experience the nameless sword sect swordsmanship today. Yun Chujio said as she casually pulled out a treasure sword from her storage ring and stabbed it at the brawny man. The brawny man naturally didn't think much of Yun Chujio. She was just a little girl at the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm. How powerful could she be? He would be able to take her down in a few rounds. Therefore, the burly man was rather careless in dodging. Who would have thought that Yun Chujio's sword move was fake? The moment the burly man dodged, the direction of the sword suddenly changed and stabbed towards the front of the burly man. Although the burly man relied on the spiritual energy barrier to dodge this sword move, he was in a rather sorry state. Under the crowd's jeering, he became angry from embarrassment and fought with Yun Chujio. During the fight between Yun Chujio and the burly man, it was inevitable that they would shift the battlefield. Under Yun Chujio's intentional guidance, some people who were originally guarding the door moved to the side. Yun Chujio gave Zhao Hui a look. Zhao Hui immediately understood and led Mu Jiang and Tao Zhong to the exit. Their goal was not to escape but to guard the exit. Zhao Hui was quick-witted. He completely understood Yun Chujio's intention. By guarding the exit, the people inside would not be able to go out and deliver the message. There were dozens of people inside. They had a chance of winning if they risked their lives, but if they let the people outside in, they would be dead for sure. Zhuang Ding's little leader was stunned at first, then he sneered. He also understood Zhao Hu's intention, but he did not take it to heart. It was easy for them to kill these 8 people. Seeing that Zhao Hui and the other 2 had succeeded, Yun Chujio did not have the mood to waste time with the burly man anymore. Her sword suddenly sped up. Before the burly man could react, he was stabbed in the throat by a sword move that Yun Chujio created herself. She was dead. Taking advantage of the moment when everyone was stunned, Yun Chujio took out a few big sacks from her storage ring and threw them at the Zhuang Ding opposite her. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. In an instant, the air was filled with the comfortable smell of the chili dough. Yun Chujio raised her spiritual energy shield at the same time as she threw it, so she was not hindered at all. While releasing De Hua, she struck the Zhuang Ding with lightning. Zhao Hui and the other 2 were quite far away from Yun Chujio, so there was no hindrance. Luo Hai and the other 3 were miserable. Their faces were also covered by the chili dough, and their snot was choked until they cried. Luo Hai secretly hated in his heart. When they escaped, he would definitely think of a way to persuade the 3 of them to kill this Yun Chujio. However, he was quickly shocked by the De Hua that Yun Chujio released. Even though this stone room was very spacious, De Hua's huge body almost reached the ceiling of the stone room. The Zhuang Ding was also shocked by De Hua and Yun Chujio's lightning. The small leader's eyes suddenly shrank. You are Yun Chujio? Yun Chujio did not have the time to waste with him. She was conflicted as to whether to release the other dumb cuties and puppets. If she was alone, she would naturally choose to release them all. However, she was not familiar with Zhao Hui and the others, so it was very likely that there would be trouble in the future. She gritted her teeth and decided to take a look first. If it did not work, she could only release them. However, Yun Chujio's eyes soon lit up. There were many humans and demonic beasts fixed on the stone wall. Although the humans and demonic beasts didn't seem to have much vitality left, there were some high-level demonic beasts that looked alright. If they were rescued, then these people wouldn't be worth being afraid of. When Yun Chujio thought of this, she asked De Hua to block the servants who attacked her while she summoned her kitchen knife to cut the chains that trapped the demonic beasts. She chose the demonic beasts that had stronger vitality and said while cutting, "If you want to save your lives, help us kill the people who captured you. Otherwise, none of us will survive." Although those demonic beasts were weak, their desire to survive had gained the upper hand and they immediately joined the battle. With the help of these demonic beasts, Yun Chujio's side quickly gained the upper hand. Zhuang Ding's little leader's expression changed drastically. He wanted to lead his men to rush out of the door, but Zhao Hui and the other 2, along with De Hua, guarded the exit firmly. There was no way for them to rush out. At this moment, Zhao Hui was extremely impressed with Yun Chujio. Fortunately, junior sister Yun had predicted everything. Otherwise, if these people ran out, they would really have no way of surviving. After a quarter of an hour, except for that little leader, all of Zhuang Ding were dead. Yun Chujio did not have the time to interrogate the little leader and directly performed a soul search. Yun Chujio could not help but frown. Although the little leader's knowledge was limited, he still knew the military arrangements of the mine like the back of his hand. There were at least 1,000 people in this mine. If they were to rush out now, they would simply be courting death. Moreover, Manor Master Sima, who was outside, hadn't been able to wait for these people to leave. He reckoned that he would soon become suspicious and send people in to investigate. When that time came, they would be exposed. Yun Chujio told everyone about the information she had received. Luo Hai said unhappily, "Yun Chujio, aren't you being too selfish? Why didn't you interrogate them publicly and insist on performing a soul search? Are you playing some tricks? Also, that person just called out your name. Are these people targeting you? Everyone, you've seen the current situation. It's as difficult as ascending to the heavens if we want to escape. Since those people are targeting Yun Chujio, why don't we use Yun Chujio as a condition in exchange? Then we can escape." Yubo also echoed from the side, "That's right. This Yun Chujio is famous for causing trouble. Perhaps she offended someone in the southern continent. We can definitely escape by using her as a condition. Moreover, those people might not kill her. When the time comes, we will return to the sect and bring people to save her. What do you think?" Yun Chujio's eyes deepened. She did not explain. Instead, she looked at the other 5 people and asked, "What do you think?" Wu Dali and Chen Chao looked at each other. Although the spiritual beast that Yun Chujio released seemed to be quite powerful, Yun Chujio's spiritual power was limited after all. It was safer for her to rely on Luo Hai and Yu Bo. Moreover, when that small leader found out about Yun Chujio's identity, he was very shocked. There must be something fishy going on. Thus, the two of them said dryly, "Junior Sister Yun, we don't have any other way to escape now, so we'll have to trouble you." Pan Din 0v1 CM Tao Zhong's hand clenched and then loosened. In the end, he gritted his teeth and said, "Although I don't like Yun Chujio, she is after all a disciple of our nameless sword sect. I don't agree to use her in exchange." Once Tao Zhong said that, not to mention Luo Hai and the others, even He Xingjiu looked at Tao Zhong in astonishment. She could not help but feel a little dumbfounded. Although this Tao Zhong was a little arrogant and a little stupid, at least he still had some conscience. Luo Hai snorted coldly, "Tao Zhong, if it weren't for your obstinacy this time, we wouldn't have fallen into danger. Since you don't agree, then you and Yun Chujio can be hostages together." The reason why Luo Hai said this was to give Mu Jiang and Zhao Hui a deterrent, wanting them to stand on their side. When Tao Zhong heard Luo Hai's words, he looked at Luo Hai and Yu Bo, who had a look of agreement on their faces. His face was ashen. Luo Hai was getting impatient from waiting. He raised his voice, "Junior brother Zhao, junior brother Mu, what do you say?" Mu Jiang's face was slightly red, and his voice was stuttering due to his excitement. Senior brother Luo, if it wasn't for junior sister Yun, we would have died long ago. How could you sacrifice junior sister Yun? I don't agree." Luo Hai's face immediately turned ugly. He looked at Zhao Hui again. As long as Zhao Hui stood on their side, they would still be able to secure victory. "Junior brother Zhao, as long as you agree with us, I can promise you that when we return to the sect, there will definitely be great benefits," Luo Hai promised. Unexpectedly, Zhao Hui straightforwardly said, "Senior brother Luo, I think Mu Jiang is right. If it wasn't for junior sister Yun, we would have died here long ago. Let's work together to think of a way to escape. Don't say anything about hostages or not hostages anymore." The expressions of Luo Hai, Yu Bo, and the other 3 immediately turned ugly. Luo Hai's expression changed a few times, and then he laughed dryly, "All right, I was just testing everyone just now. Very good, everyone has remembered the sect's rules. Then let's discuss the next step." Yu Bo also echoed from the side, Right, we can't kill each other at any time. We have to be united against the outside world. Junior sister Yun, you won't take it seriously, right?" Yun Chujio curled her lips, "Of course I won't take it seriously. Everyone take some pills first to replenish your strength. Then we can discuss the countermeasures. We'll take a look at the situation of those demonic beasts." Luo Hai and Yu Bo looked at each other. She didn't dare to have any objections. Sooner or later she would find an opportunity to get rid of her. Thus, Luo Hai and the others gathered together to discuss the countermeasures. Yun Chujio fed the demonic beasts some healing pills and put down some of the demonic beasts that were still alive. After a moment, a few huge demonic beasts suddenly attacked Luo Hai and the others. Mu Jiang was shocked and was about to go forward to help, but he was stopped by Zhao Hui. Then he pointed his chin at Yun Chujio, who was not far away. Only then did Mu Jiang realize that the demonic beasts were only attacking Luo Hai and the others, not the 3 of them. Could it be that the demonic beasts were instigated by junior sister Yun? How was this possible? Also, what did junior sister Yun want to do? Yes, was she going to kill Luo Hai and the others? How could Luo Hai and the others be a match for so many demonic beasts? They shouted at Zhao Hui and the others, "Help! Help! Quickly save us!" Zhao Hu's face was indifferent. He was the shrewdest. At this time the outcome was already decided. Only a fool would step forward to help. As for Mu Jiang, he couldn't bear it. However, he was dragged by Zhao Hui and caught a glimpse of Yun Chujia's cold gaze. He didn't know why his legs couldn't move. As for Tao Zhong, he hated Luo Hai and the others who wanted to sacrifice him to death. How could he help? While Luo Hai and the other three were in despair, they realized that these demonic beasts seemed to be under Yun Chujia's command. Luo Hai shouted at Yun Chujio, "Junior Sister Yun, I was wrong. I was wrong. As long as you spare me, I will agree to any conditions." "Yes, Junior Sister Yun, we were just joking just now. Please make these demonic beasts stop." Yu Bo shouted at the top of his voice. Wu Dali and Chen Chao were regretful. They cried out, "Junior Sister Yun, we were deceived by these two. We were wrong. Please spare us." Yun Chujio said indifferently, "I saved you, but you want to repay kindness with enmity. Do I still want to keep you for the new year? Remember not to meet me in your next life, or else I will kill you." Yun Chujio looked at Zhao Hui and the other two coldly. Zhao Hui immediately said obediently, "Junior Sister Yun, Luo Hai and the other two were killed by Zhuang Ding of Luo Yen Villa. It's really sad." Tao Zhong also echoed from the side, "That's right. Their deaths were well deserved." Although Mu Jiang was a simple and honest person, he was not really stupid. He quickly said, "Yes, yes. They died well, died well." Yun Chujio. However, when Mu Jiang said this, the atmosphere eased up a little. Yun Chujio first let the demonic beasts destroy the evil formation, then she said to Zhao Hui and the others, "I have no choice. If they don't die and there's a change of heart in our team, it'll be even harder for us to escape. As you all have seen, although there are many people and demonic beasts trapped here, most of them have no chance of survival. The only ones who can help us to charge out are these 200+ demonic beasts. I reckon that Manor Master Sima will soon realize that something is amiss and bring his men to charge in. Do you have any good countermeasures?" Mu Jiang scratched his head. "Junior Sister Yun, I'm stupid. I'll do whatever you say." Although Tao Zhong didn't say anything, it was clear that there was nothing he could do. Zhao Hui thought for a moment and said, "Junior Sister Yun, although there are more than 1,000 people in this mine, because they don't know what's happening here, they might not surround the exit at the same time. Why don't we catch them off guard and wait for the exit to open before we charge out? After we rush out, in order to avoid the Falling Goose Mountain Villa from setting up an ambush, we will run in the opposite direction. As long as we reach a place where we can use the talisman, we will be able to inform the sect." Yun Chujio felt that what Zhao Hui said made sense, so she nodded her head in agreement. At this moment, the demonic beasts had already destroyed the evil formation. Yun Chujio let the tough earth-type demonic beasts stand at the front, and then let the fire-type and wind-type demonic beasts stand around. As for the four of them, they stood shamelessly in the middle. Although the demon beasts felt very aggrieved, there was nothing they could do. After all, their lives were saved by these few humans, and they had to rely on them to escape. After a while, the exit was indeed opened from the outside. At the moment when the light from the outside shone in, several earth-type demon beasts rushed in. Soon after, Yun Chujio and the rest of the demon beasts also rushed out. Although Manor Master Sima and the rest felt that something was wrong, they definitely did not expect to encounter such a situation. By the time they reacted, Yun Chujio and the rest of the demonic beasts had already rushed out of the mine. Manor Master Sima was exasperated as he led his men to chase after them. However, he was not particularly worried because he had a way to make those demonic beasts return obediently. As long as he could control those demonic beasts, the remaining four people were nothing to be afraid of. Just as Yun Chujio and the rest were running wildly, those demonic beasts suddenly became restless. Some of them with low spiritual power even started to turn around and run back. Yun Chujio's heart tightened. She recalled what the spirit ant had said earlier. These demonic beasts had taken the initiative to run to the mine, which meant that Manor Master Sima definitely had some means to attract these demonic beasts. If these demonic beasts all ran back, then it would be very difficult for the four of them to resist the pursuers of the Sunset Manor. What should they do? Yun Chujio gritted her teeth. It seemed that they could only fight fire with fire. She said to Zhao Hui and the other two, "Let's go to the front." Zhao Hui and the other two did not understand what was going on, but they still followed Yun Chujio to the front. Then they tragically discovered that the demonic beasts behind them seemed to have gone crazy, as if they were going to flatten them. What was wrong with these demonic beasts? Just a moment ago they were going to turn around and run back. Why did they now look like they were going to fight to the death with them? Manor Master Sima had initially been feeling proud when he saw that a few demonic beasts had already turned around. However, he had not expected that those demonic beasts would suddenly go crazy and not return. What was going on? Manor Master Sima gritted his teeth and crushed a few more medicinal pills. An even more intense fragrance spread out. However, those demonic beasts acted as if they had not heard him and continued to run forward wildly. They had attracted some spirit ants, spirit bees, and other demonic insects to gather towards him. He had even been accidentally stung by a spirit bee. Manor Master Sima was so angry that he gritted his teeth. After using the cleaning spell, he led his men and chased after them. He thought to himself, fortunately, I have arranged a lot of men in front of me. I don't think those people can run away. Yun Chujio tried to stop Guai Chao from releasing its scent. When she realized that the demonic beasts had gradually returned to normal, she could not help but heave a sigh of relief. She did not know what method the Divine Devil Hall had used to attract those demonic beasts. Fortunately, those methods were not enough in front of Go Weiba. Just as Yun Chujio was feeling slightly relieved, hundreds of Zhuang Ding in the Fallen Goose Mountain Villa's uniform appeared in front of her. Moreover, there was only one exit leading to the outside world. Yun Chujio did not need to think. The demonic beasts knew that they would only die if they fell into the hands of those people. Hence, they howled and pounced on Zhuang Ding. Yun Chujio and the other three also joined in the battle. Yun Chujio had already communicated with Mao Mao Chiu just now. If it really did not work out, she could hide in the Great Void Mystic Realm, but what about Mu Jiang and the other two? And what about these demonic beasts? Although Yun Chujio was not a good person, she still disdained to abandon her companions. Yun Chujio suddenly remembered the sword technique she saw on the cliff. Why not give it a try? Yun Chujio felt that the big kitchen knife was a little too short for her. She took out a sword from her storage ring and began to display the swordsmanship she had learned on the cliff. At first she was still a little rusty, but she soon found the feeling. Zhuang Ding, who was around her, kept screaming. Zhao Hui and the others were dumbfounded. What kind of swordsmanship was this? It seemed to be similar to the nameless swordsmanship used by the sect leader and the elders, but it seemed to be even more profound than that. How did junior sister Yun learn it? Could it be that she also learned it by eating poisonous mushrooms? Chapter 38-36. Sword Light of Slaughter. This was the first time Yun Chujio had used this half-set of sword technique against an enemy. She did not expect it to be so powerful, and she could not help but feel happy. Unfortunately, the joy quickly turned into sorrow. In the direction of the valley entrance, hundreds of people wearing black masks appeared. The leader was wearing a silver mask. Yun Chujio was very familiar with this outfit. It was the people from the Divine Devil Hall. The moment the silver-masked man saw Yun Chujio, he cried out in surprise, Yun Chujio? Kill them all. Leave no one alive. Manor Master Sima was originally a little worried, but when he saw those people, he immediately heaved a sigh of relief. The spiritual power of these people wearing black masks was much higher than that of the manor staff of the Fallen Goose Villa. Very quickly, more than half of the demonic beasts were killed and injured, and Zhao Hui and the others were also heavily injured. Yun Chujio knew that even if she released the puppets and the silly cuties, it would be of no use. Just as she was thinking, Zhao Hui and the other two were captured by the people of the Divine Devil Hall. The silver-masked man said coldly, Yun Chujio, I know that you have some decent spiritual pets, but so what? Even if you let them out, they will still die. You are not our match at all, just surrender. With this, those little things might still have a chance of surviving. Moreover, if you don't stop, these three people will only be buried with you. Tiske and these demonic beasts will all die because of you. Zhao Hui and the other two did not say anything to beg for mercy. They knew that it would be useless even if they did. They also did not say anything to Yun Chujio. Even if Yun Chujio did not care about their lives, they had nothing to say. Their lives were at stake. Who could care about who? When the silver-masked man saw that Yun Chujio did not say anything, he killed an injured Mantion's huge strength bear with a single slap. The huge body of the Mantion's huge strength bear fell to the ground. However, its eyes were not closed. There was a strong sense of unwillingness in its eyes. Yun Chujio remembered that when she fed the Mantion's huge strength bear with the medicinal pills, the Mantion's huge strength bear had even cupped its hands to her in a mischievous manner. Now it had died in front of her. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. At this moment, another miserable scream rang out. The silver-masked man had killed another Mantian Wind Blade Tiger. The first thing that Mantian Wind Blade Tiger did when it was saved by Yunchujio was not to heal its injuries. Instead, it was to comb its beautiful fur in a pretentious manner. However, at this moment, its beautiful fur was already stained with fresh blood. There was even a bloody hole that was continuously bleeding. Yunchujio, I know that you might not care about these beasts. What about these three people? If you don't throw away the sword in your hand, I will chop off their limbs in front of you. And then, Yunchujio could no longer hear the silver-masked man's words. Her heart was filled with murderous intent. It was a murderous intent that blotted out the sky and covered the earth. Yunchujio did not use her will to control the surging murderous intent. She wanted to use this murderous intent to kill all these animals that were inferior to pigs and dogs. The black bead seemed to know Yunchujio's intention, so it did not react. Just as the silver-masked man was talking smugly, a bright light flashed in front of his eyes. Then his eyes widened and he fell to the ground. Even until his death he still did not know what was going on. Yunchujio was clearly still some distance away from him. There were clearly many disciples of the Divine Devil Hall around him. How could he have been stabbed in the throat? The scene that followed was a scene that Zhao Hui and the others would never forget for the rest of their lives. It was bloody and terrifying, but they saw hope for survival. They could no longer see Yunchujio's figure clearly. They could only see a ball of sword light slaughtering non-stop. Wherever the sword light passed, no one survived. Blood flowed like a river and corpses littered the ground. Chapter 38-37. She was the devil. Yunchujio had maintained a trace of clarity at the beginning, but as she continued to kill, there was only one thought in her mind, and that was to kill. Manor Master Sima had originally thought that the silver-masked man would bring his men over to support them, and that they would definitely win. Who would have thought that Yunchujio, who was only at the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm, would actually go crazy? All the attacks aimed at her spirit energy were blocked by the sword intent surrounding her body. However, the treasured sword in her hand was like the god of death, continuously reaping human lives. Manor Master Sima's legs were a little weak. Seeing the people wearing the black mask falling one after another, he was afraid. If he didn't escape, he wouldn't be able to live. He turned around and ran, afraid that if he was a step slower, he would be killed by Yunchujio. However, he had only run a few steps when a treasured sword came from behind and nailed him to the ground. He turned his head with much effort and saw that the young girl who seemed to be possessed by a demon was staring at him coldly, and there were corpses all over the ground around her. Manor Master Sima felt that his life force was being drained bit by bit from his body. He was unwilling to accept this. Everything had clearly been arranged seamlessly, and Lord Silver Mask had clearly brought people to support him. Why had he failed in the end? It was her, it was all her. It was all this devil-like young lady. She was not human. She was a devil. Manor Master Sima watched as the devil-like young lady walked towards him step by step. Endless fear surged up in him, and he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. He was actually scared to death. Yunchujio walked up to him and pulled out the treasured sword that was inserted into his body. Her eyes, which were filled with purple lightning, did not have a trace of emotion. There was only a frenzied killing intent. At this moment, the black bead in her dantian trembled. Yunchujio felt a sharp pain in her dantian. The lightning in her eyes gradually faded away and she fainted on the ground. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Behind her, Zhao Hui and the others cried out in surprise and quickly ran over. They fed her pills and called out to her. The surviving demonic beasts also began to roar in low voices. After experiencing life and death, it had nothing to do with whether they were demonic beasts or humans. At this moment they were all comrades who fought side by side. Yunchujio quickly woke up. When she saw the corpses all over the ground, she didn't have the time to sort out her thoughts. She said in a somewhat hoarse voice, "Let's leave this place quickly. The Divine Devil Hall has a secret technique that can transmit information. Perhaps the Divine Devil Hall will send someone over soon." Zhao Hui and the other two quickly helped Yunchujio to sit on the back of a Manskai sawtooth elephant. They then sped away with the remaining dozens of demonic beasts. Yunchujio sat on the back of the elephant with her brows furrowed. She did not know if it was because she had used up all her energy during the slaughter, but she felt that there was nothing in her dantian. There was not even a trace of spiritual power. In the past, even if she had awakened her power when she was stimulated, everything would still be normal after she woke up. However, why was it like this time? Could it be that the awakening caused by the killing intent had sequelae? Just as she was extremely worried, she vaguely felt that spiritual energy was slowly being generated in her dantian. Only then did her heart heave a sigh of relief. Fortunately, she had been scared to death. At this moment, Zhao Hui said, "Junior Sister Yun, after passing through the valley entrance, we can use the talisman normally. Then we can ask the sect for help." Zhao Hui paused at this point and asked tentatively, "Junior Sister Yun, how should we report this to the sect?" Yun Chujio could not help but look at Zhao Hui with a faint smile. This Zhao Hui was quite tactful. She curled the corners of her lips and said, "How do you mean? Wasn't it just my fiancé who appeared at the critical moment to save us?" Chapter 38 was either happy or worried fiancé. "Junior Sister Yun, where is your fiancé?" Mu Jiang asked in a daze. Zhao Hui glared at him and then said to Yun Chujio, "Junior Sister Yun, you are right. It was your fiancé who saved us. Those people from the Divine Devil Hall and Manor Master Sima were all killed by your fiancé." Yun Chujio was quite satisfied with Zhao Hui's intelligence and tactfulness. Her clear and cold gaze fell on the pale-faced Tao Zhong. "Senior brother Tao, what do you think?" Tao Zhong could not describe the feeling in his heart. He recalled the contempt and insults he had towards Yun Chujio previously. It was like a joke. He was like a clown who was complacent previously. Yun Chujio simply could not be bothered with him. Otherwise she would have killed him long ago. He said hesitantly, "Junior Sister Yun, you're right. Yes, it was your fiancé who saved us." The corners of Yun Chujio's mouth curled slightly, and she didn't say anything else. When they were out of danger, it was necessary to let the nightmare beast weave a dream for them. However, the nightmare beast had just finished weaving a dream for Li Zhuangji a few days ago. If she wanted to succeed this time, she had to help Meng Yanshou. Just as Yun Chujio was thinking, she heard Zhao Hui's gasp. Her heart sank. She looked up and saw hundreds of people wearing black masks coming out from the bushes on both sides of the valley entrance. The silver-masked man in the lead was looking at them viciously. Yun Chujio's head buzzed. What she was afraid of came true. Although she had recovered some spiritual power, it was pitifully little. Even if her killing intent appeared again, its power would probably be limited. Zhao Hui and the others had hoped that Yun Chujio would kill again, but when they saw her pale face, despair surged in their hearts. It was over. They really had no way to escape this time. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, the silver-masked man said coldly like a poisonous snake. Are you Yun Chujio, who has ruined our plans time and time again? This time let's see how you can escape. Go. Kill them. Right at this moment, the people from the Divine Devil Hall suddenly shouted for them to kill. Zhao Hui immediately said excitedly, "It's the people from the 9-storied pavilion. It's Tower Master Luochen. Junior Sister Yun were saved." Yun Chujio's heart was like a beeping dog. She did not know whether she should be happy or worried. The reason why Tower Master Luochen had appeared so timely was probably because he had already made arrangements and wanted to kidnap her on the way. She did not expect that he would actually take the risk of becoming enemies with the Nameless Sword sect to kidnap her. He was really crazy. Just as Yun Chujio was thinking about it, Tower Master Luochen had already rushed past the encirclement and stood in front of her, acting like a guardian. Yun Chujio cursed silently in her heart. If this had not happened in the past, she would have been slightly touched. However, now she was filled with sarcasm. Although the number of people in the 9-tiered pavilion was not as many as the people of the Divine Devil Hall, their spiritual power was clearly much higher. In addition to Tower Master Luochen, who had high spiritual power, the people of the Divine Devil Hall were quickly defeated and left. Zhao Hui and the other two hurriedly jumped down from the back of the elephant to thank Tower Master Luochen. Tower Master Luchen's eyes flickered, obviously considering whether to kill them to silence them. He did not spend so much effort to save the 3 idiots. As long as he killed them, he could take Yun Chujio away and push their deaths onto the Divine Devil Hall. Yun Chujio easily guessed Tower Master Luchen's thoughts. She gritted her teeth. It seemed that she could only hide in the Great Void Mystic Realm. As long as she disappeared, Lan Luochen did not have to kill Zhao Hui and the other two. It was just that she would have some trouble in the future. Chapter 38-39. Shui Wuji and Enfeng. Just as Yun Chujio was about to hide in the Great Void Mystic Realm, a bewitching laugh came from the bushes nearby. "Yo, Lan Luochen, are you planning to snatch the bride while your face is paralyzed?" Yun Chujio heard this voice and could not help but feel delighted. She looked up and saw Shui Wuji in red walking over with a casual smile. Yun Chujio looked behind Shui Wuji with some hope, but she didn't see the figure she wanted to see. She couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Besides disappointment, she was also a little worried. Although Wu Jia's brain was quite powerful, he might not be a match for Tower Master Luochen. Moreover, he had the subordinates of the 9-tiered pavilion behind him. Tower Master Luochen saw Shui Wuji and showed some contempt on his face. Shui Wuji, do you think you are still the young Master Wuji from before? What right do you have to criticize me now? Shui Wuji shrugged. Tiske the Lan Luochen, you are still as annoying as before. However, you are quite pitiful. Is your confidence built on this so-called power? No wonder little sister Jiu doesn't like you anymore. I'm afraid no one will like a person like you. Tower Master Luchen's expression suddenly became very cold. So-called power? Shui Wuji, you will soon know whether this so-called power is useful or not. Go kill him. Yun Chujio clenched her teeth in anxiety. If Shui Wuji did not show up, she could hide, but if she hid now, Shui Wuji would lose his life. What should she do? Could it be that she could only pretend to follow Lan Luochen to the 9 pavilions? Yun Chujio was about to speak when she heard Shui Wuji chuckle. It seems that only you have subordinates and I don't. Little baby, come out. Following Shui Wuji's words, Enfeng walked out with a face full of despair. If not, he wouldn't have followed this stupid young Master Wuji to mess around. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Tower Master Luochen looked at Enfeng with a disdainful expression. There were only 2 of them and he still wanted to fight with them? However, his expression quickly turned ugly. He realized that he couldn't see through the spiritual power levels of Shui Wuji and Enfeng. This meant that their spiritual power was higher than his. How was this possible? Beiming's spiritual power was higher than his, which was enough to make him angry. How could their spiritual power be higher than his? Shui Wuji crossed his arms and said provocatively, Lan Luochen, what do you think? How about we compete? Although there are only 2 of us, it's not certain who will win. Lan Luochen looked at the dozens of beasts behind Yun Chujio, then glanced at Zhao Hui and the other 2. He weighed the pros and cons in his heart and finally said coldly, I have other things to do today, so I won't argue with you for now. Retreat. Tower Master Luochen looked at Yun Chujio deeply, then left with the people of the 9-storied pavilion. Yun Chujio finally let out a sigh of relief, but she also knew that this was not a good place to talk, so she immediately called the others and hurried out of the valley. After leaving the valley, the demonic beasts roared a few times and then ran towards the mountain forest. Everyone boarded their flying spirit tools and hurriedly headed in the direction of the Nameless Sword sect. Yun Chujio and the other 3 immediately took out sound transmission talismans to send a message to the sect and requested for the sect to come to their aid. Yun Chujio was afraid that someone in the middle would cause trouble, so she specially sent a sound transmission talisman to Hall Master Zhuge, making sure that he had to see Master Ouyang personally report this matter. Chapter 3840. Elder Jiu had arrived after Yun Chujio sent out the voice transmission talisman. She went to another cabin with Enfeng and Shui Wuji. Brother Wuji, little madman, why are you here? Where is my fiancé who is so angry at the heavens and the earth? Shui Wuji's mouth twitched. Little sister Jiu, let's not talk about that facial paralysis first. Why do you look so pale? You should take a rest first. We want leave for the time being. You don't have to worry about the Divine Devil Hall's pursuers coming over. Yun Chujio also felt a little dizzy, so she did not ask any more questions and laid down to rest first. This fellow was muttering in her heart. It seemed that this killing intent was not very similar to Qi deviation. After all, when she went crazy, she only killed the people of the Divine Devil Hall and did not harm Zhao Hui and the others. However, this killing intent clearly had a side effect. Not only did it consume a lot of spiritual power, but it was also very tiring. However, in the past, the awakening of the power caused by grief and indignation took a longer time, so it seemed that the killing intent was not bad. In a daze, Yun Chujio finally fell asleep. Perhaps because she was too tired, Yun Chujio slept until the next morning. When she woke up, she found that there was nothing wrong with her body, so she was relieved. Junior sister Yun, I just received news that Elder Gu has already brought people to meet us. I believe that he will meet us soon, Zhao Hui said with some excitement. Yun Chujio was also very happy, but she just remembered that she hadn't woven a dream for Zhao Hui and the other 2. Now there was no need to talk about her fiancé, just Shui Wuji and Enfeng. The higher the spiritual power of the weaved person, the clearer their will, and the more difficult it was to weave a dream. Therefore Yun Chujio secretly drugged Zhao Hui and the other two, and then asked the nightmare beast to weave a dream for them. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Meng Yanshou was a habitual offender. Therefore, even after Zhao Hui and the other two woke up, they did not notice anything unusual. However, because Meng Yanshou had used up too much spiritual power, the whole rabbit was listless. Yun Chujio felt a little heartache. She comforted Meng Yanshou and threw it a few storybooks before putting it into the spirit beast bag. Yun Chujio found an opportunity to ask Dark Wind about Di Baiming. And Feng said that Di Baiming had something on and could not get away. Moreover, he could not use the sound transmission talisman where he was. Yun Chujio saw that Feng and Shui Wuji's expressions were normal, so she didn't doubt them. Half a day later, Yun Chujio and the others finally met Elder Gu and the others. The two flying spirit tools landed on the ground. Yun Chujio simply introduced Shui Wuji and Feng, stating that they were her fiancé's subordinates. Elder Gu was shocked. These two young men's spiritual power was even higher than his. It seemed that it was true that Yun Chujio's fiancé had once defeated Tower Master Luochen. However, since Yun Chujio's fiancé was so powerful, why had he never heard of him before? And he didn't have any power? Although Elder Gu was full of doubts, he still politely greeted Shui Wuji and Feng and asked them about what had happened to Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio told them about what had happened, but she blamed the deaths of Luo Hai and the others on those people from the Fallen Goose Villa, and blamed Shui Wuji and Feng for killing the people from the God and Demon Palace. Because she was afraid of making a mistake, she did not hide the matter of Tower Master Luochen. Elder Gu was terrified when he heard this. His expression changed slightly as he said, I originally planned to bring you back to the Fallen Goose Mountain Villa to capture those remaining members. Now, it seems that it's safer to ask the sect to send more people over. Yun Chujio naturally agreed with Bai Li. The area within hundreds of miles of the Fallen Goose Mountain Villa was prohibited from flying, and talismans were forbidden. If one entered rashly, one might fall into the trap of the godly demon palace. Chapter 38-41, The Little Silver Snake. She blinked her eyes and said, Elder Gu, this matter is of great importance. Why don't we ask the other major forces to send people over to take a look? Elder Gu's eyes lit up and he immediately took out his voice transmission talisman to communicate with Master Ouyang. Seeing Elder Gu walk to the other side, Shui Wuji said to Yun Chujio, Little Sister Jiu, come over here. The little madman has something to talk to you about. And Feng looked at Shui Wuji with a sad look, then resigned himself to his fate and followed the two to the other side. Seeing the two of them acting so mysteriously, Yun Chujio could not help but feel a little curious. She opened the isolation array and asked, Little madman, what's the matter? And Feng laughed dryly, then took out a small silver snake from his sleeve pocket. Miss Jiu, this is your Majesty's spiritual pet. It's been a little inconvenient for my Majesty recently, so he wants you to take care of it for a while. Yun Chujio looked at the small silver snake in Feng's hand with a dumbfounded expression. That's not right. Isn't the small yellow dragon golden? And its appearance is that of a dragon. Isn't this a snake? And Feng immediately explained, Miss Jiu, the small yellow dragon's original appearance was too ostentatious, so it transformed into this appearance to avoid attracting trouble. Hearing his words, Yun Chujio felt that it made sense. The small yellow dragon was indeed a little ostentatious, and it was indeed very common for it to turn into a small silver snake. However, she disliked the little yellow dragon very much, so she said with disdain, You can help raise it. Why did you have to send it all the way here for me? Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. And Feng choked. Shui Wuji said from the side, Little Sister Jiu, it's not like you don't know that this little yellow dragon is special. It can't be kept into our spirit beast bags. We kill it every day. How can we have time to take care of it? Besides, we've never raised a spiritual pet before, so we don't know how to do it. Shui Wuji squeezed his eyes as he said, Little Sister Jiu, besides, if this little lecherous dragon is with you, won't you be able to meet him when he comes to pick it up? Yun Chujio's heart skipped a beat. Yes, the pretty boy had sealed his 7 emotions and 6 desires, so he might deliberately avoid her. With the little lecherous dragon, she wasn't afraid that he wouldn't come to find her. Besides, she had many spiritual pets anyway, so she did not need this little lecherous dragon. It was a good opportunity to take care of it. Therefore she curled her lips. All right, then I will reluctantly accept it. And Feng heard this and hurriedly stuffed the little silver snake into Yun Chujio's hand. Then he said in a hurry, Well, Miss Jiu, young Master Wuji and I still have important things to do. We will take our leave now. Shui Wuji also said, little sister Jiu, take care. They'll come to see you in a few days. After the two of them finished talking, they left in a hurry, looking like they were running away. Yun Chujio was completely confused. What was wrong with these two? Yun Chujio lowered her head and looked at the small silver snake in her hand. It looked a little more pleasing than the golden one before, but she still despised it. No matter how it changed its appearance, it would still be that lecherous dragon. Shameless. Yun Chujio wanted to put the small silver snake into her spiritual beast bag, but she did not succeed. Only then did she realize that this thing was a divine beast. If it did not recognize its owner, she would not be able to put it in. It was really troublesome. No wonder the black chicken's head and the little madman were thrown to her like a hot potato. Thinking of this, Yun Chujio disliked the small silver snake even more. She grabbed the small silver snake's tail and threw it to the ground. You pervert. I might as well let you die on your own. Chapter 3842. Back to the sect. Hei Shinjio originally thought that the small silver snake would be so angry that it would spit its tongue at her or jump around on the ground. She did not expect the small silver snake to have no reaction at all. Yun Chujio's heart skipped a beat. Fuck, did it fall to its death? Was a godly beast that weak? Besides, she had only thrown the small silver snake onto the ground. She did not use any strength at all. She quickly squatted down and picked up the small silver snake. Only then did she realize that the small silver snake's eyes were closed. This fellow felt guilty and tested its aura. Only when she felt that the small silver snake was still alive did she heave a sigh of relief. Even if she did not like this little lecherous dragon, it was still a pretty boy's spiritual pet after all. If she really played it to death, it would seem a little unethical. At this moment, Elder Gu called her over. She had no choice but to put the little silver snake into her sleeve and then run over. Elder Gu first probed about Shui Wuji and Enfeng, then asked about the details of the Fallen Goose Mountain village. Finally he said, I have already reported it to the sect leader. The sect leader will immediately discuss it with the other major forces. Soon he will send people to the Fallen Goose Mountain village to check it out and let us return to the sect first. Yun Chujio was truly surprised. She thought that Master Ouyang would let them go to the Fallen Goose Villa together. She didn't expect that he would let her return to the sect first. How could she know that Master Ouyang had a reason for doing this? Firstly, Yun Chujio had dealt with the Divine Devil Hall several times. The information she had was very important, so she couldn't let anything happen to her. Secondly, Tower Master Luochen clearly hadn't given up. If Yun Chujio were to be in danger, the 9 pavilions would probably be even more dissatisfied with the Nameless Sword sect. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Thirdly, according to Elder Gu, Yun Chujio's fiancé's 2 subordinate spiritual powers were so high, so Yun Chujio's fiancé was even more difficult to deal with. Therefore they couldn't let Yun Chujio be in danger. 2 days later, Elder Gu brought Yun Chujio and the others back to the Nameless Sword sect. Yun Chujio and the other 2 received a few more questions before letting them return to their dormitories to rest. Although Zhao Hui and the other 2 had been weaved into a dream by the Meng Yanshou, there was still a lingering fear of Yun Chujio in their hearts. They spoke to Yun Chujio in fear and trepidation before returning to their respective dormitories. Yun Chujio had yet to walk to the entrance of her own dormitory when she saw Jia Rini coming over to welcome her with a flattering smile. Junior sister Yun, you're back. I knew that you were blessed with great fortune and good fortune. Nothing will happen to you. Yun Chujio looked at him with a hint of mockery. You're afraid that if I die you won't be able to get the antidote, right? Tell me what happened during the time I was away. Jia Rini laughed dryly, then he said, nothing happened. It's just that the Zhongli that you asked me to keep an eye on has gone mad again. He cut off Marshal Uncle Wan's arm. Elder Wan was very dissatisfied and threatened to expel Zhongli from the sect. However, later on, I heard that the sect leader asked for leniency. Coincidentally, the teleportation array in the Nameless Ancestral Master's cave was repaired, so he locked Zhongli in the Nameless Ancestral Master's cave. Yun Chujio's eyes flashed. Has he gone mad again? There must be something else going on. Perhaps it was Zhongli who left and Wan Qingba asked about what happened back then. Wan Qingba was afraid that he would be exposed and used tricks to frame him again. Zhongli might have been a favored son of heaven since he was young, and everything went smoothly. Even if he had encountered setbacks, he was still lacking in scheming. A person like him was indeed not suitable to be a sect leader. Even if he did, he would be played to death by others. Chapter 38-43. Buttface, who was shocked, Yun Chujio asked Jiaorini a few more questions, then took out a pill and handed it to him. This is the antidote. From now on we are even. You can leave. Jiaorini took the antidote and hurriedly stuffed it into his mouth, but he didn't leave immediately. Junior sister Yun, you can tell me anything in the future. Although I am a handyman, I am still well informed, Jiaorini said with some flattery. Yun Chujio looked at Jiaorini with some surprise. If that's the case, then help me keep an eye on Wan Qingba. If anything happens, come and tell me. I will give you this bottle of 9 Revolution Spirit Pill as a reward. If you do well, I will not mistreat you. Although Yun Chujio looked down on the 9 Revolution Spirit Pill, to a handyman like Jiaorini, this bottle of 9 Revolution Spirit Pill was considered very valuable. He suddenly felt that his choice was not wrong. He had helped Luo Hai and Yu Bo with so many things, and the two of them had only given him a few 9 Revolution Spirit Pills. The reason why he chose to join Yun Chujio was because he heard that Luo Hai and Yu Bo were dead. He knew that the two of them wanted to kill Yun Chujio. In the end, Yun Chujio returned safely, but the two of them were dead. What did this mean? It meant that this Yun Chujio was definitely not simple. Moreover, he vaguely heard that this Yun Chujio's fiancé was very impressive. Even his fiancé's subordinates had higher spiritual power than Elder Gu. In the future, this Yun Chujio might have a bright future. This was a good opportunity for him to climb up. After Yun Chujio sent Jiaorini away, she opened the restriction in the courtyard. When Yun Chujio took off her coat and was about to take a bath, the small silver snake fell to the ground with a clatter. Yun Chujio then remembered that she had another burden. She thought to herself, this little lecherous dragon is the most lecherous. Maybe it will peep at her taking a bath. Therefore, she left the small silver snake in the outer room and asked Buttface to keep an eye on it, in case it woke up halfway and peered at it. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Buttface stared at the silver snake in the outer room and said disdainfully, little lecherous dragon, don't you feel ashamed that your dragon turned into a small snake? Also, your own master doesn't like you and left you to the little fairy. You are really miserable. I'm warning you. If you dare to peek at the little fairy bathing, I will eat you. Dog 2 kept kissing the little silver snake for a long time, but the snake still didn't open its eyes. Dog 2 couldn't help but feel a little bored. It unhappily stretched out its claws to pull the little silver snake, but the little silver snake suddenly opened its eyes, scaring Dog 2 so much that it staggered. Dog 2 was scared stiff by the little silver snake's cold eyes. When it looked again, the little silver snake had already closed its eyes. Buttface took a while to recover. He stared at the silver snake for a long time. The silver snake just lay there with its eyes closed, as if everything that happened just now was an illusion. Buttface stretched out his paw and wanted to try again, but after thinking for a while, he pulled back. The guy said proudly, Humph, I'm not afraid of you. I'm mainly afraid of disturbing the little fairy. However, I'm warning you. If you dare to harm the little fairy, I, Buttface, will not forgive you. The little silver snake still had no reaction. Buttface was puzzled. Could it be that the little lecherous dragon was sleepwalking just now? It was really strange. The divine dragons were usually violent. Why did this little lecherous dragon have such a cold gaze? It must have seen wrongly. Chapter 38-44. Cobra. After Yun Chujio finished her bath, she ignored the little silver snake and strolled into the courtyard. Buttface followed her eagerly. Little fairy, that little lecherous dragon is most likely hibernating. Otherwise, why didn't it wake up for such a long time? Yun Chujio couldn't be bothered with this idiot Buttface. It was spring all year round here, what was the point of hibernating? Yun Chujio leaned back on the recliner, nibbling on a fruit as she thought about the murderous aura. If they were facing an enemy, it wouldn't be a bad thing for the murderous aura to surge, but if the murderous aura surged up normally, it would be very troublesome. What exactly was this murderous aura? Just as Yun Chujio was thinking about it, Xiao Hanyo and the others were clamoring to come out for some fresh air, so Yun Chujio let them all out. Anyway, this was a haunted house, so no one would come over. Seeing that the little black bird and Xiao Hanyo were having fun on the other side, a bright light flashed in the kitten's eyes, and it secretly moved toward the house. If it could swallow the golden dragon, it would definitely awaken more spiritual power, and then it would be able to get rid of this smelly girl. The more the kitten thought about it, the more pleased it became. The golden dragon was now half dead, and it had no spiritual connection with the smelly girl, so it could only let it eat it. The kitten finally moved into the house. It carefully looked outside, but neither Yun Chujio nor Xiao Hanyo noticed it, so it couldn't help but be happy. It saw the small silver snake lying on the table at a glance. It drooled and jumped onto the table, revealing its sharp claws again and reaching for the small silver snake. At this moment, Dog 2's voice came from the door. "Kitten, what are you doing?" The kitten was so hateful. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, however, it could only gnash its teeth and say, I want to see if this little lecherous dragon is awake. The little fairy said that she wanted to reward you with dried fish. Hurry up and get out. Dog 2's eyes revealed some disdain. Did it really think that everyone else was an idiot? The little fairy had already seen it sneakily enter the house, but she did not expose it. Idiot. The kitten was so angry that it gritted its teeth. It had no choice but to jump off the table and leave unwillingly. Dog 2 looked at the motionless silver snake on the table and then went out. At this moment, the silver snake on the table opened its eyes. It was cold inside and it closed its eyes again a moment later. The kitten moved closer to Yun Chujio with a guilty conscience. Fortunately, Yun Chujio did not say anything and only threw 2 dried fish to it. Yes, the kind that was so salty that it could kill. The kitten ate the 2 dried fish bitterly and drank half a jar of cold water. It finally understood that the stupid girl had been pretending to be ignorant. It was really too hateful. However, since the little girl did not want to break the window, it naturally would not do so. It did not want the fish to die and the net to break. Yun Chujio squinted her eyes and looked at the kitten. The kitten had reminded her that the little lecherous dragon clearly did not have any ability to protect itself. It seemed that she had to carry it with her. Otherwise it would be very dangerous. However, that lecherous person was not a good person. What if he peeked at her? Yun Chujio walked into the house and stared at the little silver snake for a while. Then she snapped her fingers. There it was. Yun Chujio took out a needle and thread and fiddled with it for a while. Then she made a small eye mask and put it over the little silver snake's eyes. This guy could not help but giggle. Isn't this a cobra? Chapter 38:45, The Facial Paralysis. Just as Yun Chujio was feeling smug, Buttface said weakly, "Little fairy, this little pervert is not even as thick as your thumb. Why don't you just put a cloth over it? It's a waste of time to sew such a thing." Although Yun Chujio realized that she was a little stupid, she still kicked Buttface. Get lost. What do you know? This is called aesthetic appreciation. As soon as Hei Shinjio finished her sentence, the small silver snake's body suddenly shrank. Then the eye patch that she had carefully sewn was swept to the ground by the snake's tail. Buttface gloated and said, "Little fairy, the little pervert seems to dislike the weird thing you made." Yun Chujio was so angry that she clenched her teeth and picked up the small silver snake's tail. She said fiercely, "Little perverted dragon, are you trying to rebel? Let me tell you, you are now a homeless dragon. If you continue to be a demon, I will throw you out and let you fend for yourself." After saying that, Yun Chujio threw the small silver snake to the corner of the wall. She thought to herself, this thing will be reborn even if it dies. Do whatever you want. She didn't believe that the pretty boy would fall out with her because of this little perverted dragon. Yun Chujio glared fiercely at the motionless small silver snake in the corner of the wall and left in a huff. Dog 2 used its claws to pull the small eye patch that was despised. It gloated at the small silver snake and said, "Are you stupid? The little fairy spent a long time sewing this thing for you and you still don't appreciate it. You deserve to be thrown to the corner of the wall. Since you don't want it, I'll keep this thing." As Buttface said this, he put the blindfold into his storage space. Then he felt a cold gaze staring at him. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Buttface turned his head and saw the little silver snake, who was pretending to be dead in the corner, looking at him as if he was looking at a dead dog. Buttface was so scared that he couldn't help but tremble. He roared, "What are you looking at? If you keep looking, I'll eat you." After Buttface said that, he ran out in a panic. The small silver snake suddenly jumped up and nimbly jumped onto the table. Then it coiled up into a small ball and closed its eyes. Yun Chujio was infuriated by the small silver snake. She took out Feng's voice transmission talisman and said, "Little lunatic, quickly take the small dragon away. Otherwise I'll stew it in soup one day." And Feng, who was on the other side, almost threw the voice transmission talisman on the ground after he heard that. He looked at Shui Wuji with a sorrowful expression. "Young Master Wuji, I told you that this method of yours won't work. It's not like you don't know how much Miss Jiu dislikes the little yellow dragon. Why don't we invite the little yellow dragon, no, the venerable one, back? A hint of schadenfreude flashed across Xue Wuji's bewitching phoenix eyes. He said carelessly, that facial paralysis is his own doing. Now, only the 7 emotions and 6 desires that have been sealed can be restored. In the whole world, only little sister Jiao can let him unseal the 7 emotions and 6 desires. If you don't throw him to little sister Jiao, can you let that facial paralysis unseal the 7 emotions and 6 desires? And Feng said with a bitter face, But Ninth Miss doesn't know that it's your majesty. Moreover, your majesty doesn't want us to tell Ninth Miss. Moreover, Ninth Miss hates little perverted dragons to death now. How can she help your majesty unseal the 7 emotions and 6 desires? Xue Wuji pursed his lips. That facial paralysis is blaming us for his face. If he can't take it anymore, he will naturally take the initiative to tell us. However, this human snake love really has a heavy taste. Chapter 38:46. Can there be sparks? And Feng was about to cry. A snake without emotions and a deranged Ninth Miss. Oh, how could there be sparks? And Feng looked like he had nothing to live for. Young Master Wuji then how should I reply to Ninth Miss? Xue Wuji said nonchalantly, just tell her that we have urgent matters to attend to and that we'll retrieve the little lecherous dragon later. Besides, we'll be leaving Towering Sky Continent soon, and she won't be able to contact us. What are you afraid of? And Feng had no other choice but to reply Hey Xinjiao according to Xue Wuji's instructions. After receiving in Feng's voice transmission talisman, Hey Xinjiao gritted her teeth in anger. She knew immediately that Feng was just giving her a perfunctory reply. There was no way he would come back to retrieve the little lecherous dragon. Just as Yun Chujiao was fuming with anger, Buttface said, Little fairy, someone is coming. Although Buttface was not very capable now, he was an ancient fierce beast after all. Moreover, he was the soul of an adult ancient fierce beast, so his sense of aura was much stronger than Yun Chujia's. Yun Chujiao frowned and only left Buttface behind. The rest of the dumb cuties were put into her storage ring. After a moment there was a knock on the door. Yun Chujiao opened it and saw that it was Jiaorini. Yun Chujiao was stunned. Is there something you need me for? Jiaorini looked around, he lowered his voice and said, Junior Sister Yun, I just returned to the Sword Hall and overheard Uncle Master Wan talking to a disciple of the Discipline Hall. I vaguely heard something about Zhongli and what he did to Zhongli. He definitely won't survive, so I quickly came over to tell you. Yun Chujia's heart sank. It seemed that Wan Qingba intended to put Zhongli to death. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, the people of the Discipline Hall did not need to put any poison in their food. As long as they deducted the amount, a person without spiritual power, without water or food, would probably not last more than a few days. Yun Chujiao asked Jiaorini a few more questions and then sent him away. Yun Chujiao sat on the recliner and thought, should I help Zhongli or not? After thinking about it, she decided to help Zhongli once. She and Elder One had already reached an irreconcilable state. She did not have any allies in the Nameless Sword sect, so Zhongli was at least a former disciple of Master Ouyang. He could barely be considered a good helper. However, how could she help? Master Ouyang had previously pleaded for Zhongli's mercy, so it was likely that he had already used up his last bit of friendship. Even if she went to find Master Ouyang, it might not be of any use. Moreover, she did not have any real evidence. Yun Chujiao didn't have any idea until after dinner. She could only sit in the courtyard and continue to think. Buttface said shamelessly, Little fairy, don't look so sad. Look at how beautiful the moon is tonight. Let's admire the moon together. Hearing that, Yun Chujiao looked up. The moon in the night sky was very bright. She suddenly remembered that the full moon would be in 2 days. Would the sword technique on the stone wall appear? She rolled her eyes and immediately had an idea to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. The next morning, Yun Chujiao went to the hidden sword peak. With her full of bad ideas, she finally met Master Ouyang. Yun Chujiao first kissed him. It was just that she accidentally heard that the Discipline Hall had set up a trap for Zhongli, so she came to inform him. After hearing it, Master Ouyang's face was very cold. No matter how many favors he had, Zhongli had caused trouble time and time again, and it had all been exhausted. Moreover, Master Ouyang had already aroused the dissatisfaction of several elders because of Zhongli. He really didn't want to cause any more trouble. Chapter 38:47. Did she want to settle down in the ancestral master's abode? Yun Chujio caught a glimpse of Master Ouyang's expression and basically guessed his thoughts. She said with a smile, "Master Ouyang, I have a presumptuous request. I hope you can agree." Master Ouyang frowned and asked coldly, "What request?" "Last time I received advice from the ancestral master's abode, so can you let me go up again? As you know, there's no use even if you only have 3 moves. No matter what, I have to get the old man to give me 10 or 8 more moves." The corner of Master Ouyang's eyes twitched. What advice from the ancestral master? That was clearly mushroom poisoning. After the teleportation array was repaired, Master Ouyang had specially sent people to the ancestral master's cave abode to check. They did not find the poisonous mushroom that Yun Chujio mentioned, but they did not find anything else unusual. However, everyone did not doubt Yun Chujio's words. After all, without the poisonous mushroom she would not be able to last until the end. She was starving to death. Seeing that Master Ouyang did not say anything, Yun Chujio said, "Master Ouyang, although I am not familiar with martial uncle Zhongli, I cannot bear for him to really be harmed by a traitor. Firstly, I am going to seek guidance from the ancestral master. Secondly, I can also send some food and drinks to martial uncle Zhongli. Moreover, if I learn a new sword move, want it be able to contribute to our sect. Please agree with me?" In the end, Master Ouyang was persuaded by Yun Chujio. In the end, he still couldn't bear to see Zhongli get killed. Otherwise, he wouldn't have tried so hard to keep him in the Nameless Sword sect. Moreover, the 3 moves that Yun Chujio learned last time were very mysterious. If this little girl was lucky enough to fantasize a few more moves, it would be a good thing for the Nameless Sword sect. Thereupon, Hei Shinjio took Master Ouyang's handwritten order and returned to her courtyard. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks to go to the ancestral master's cave abode, she naturally had to prepare many things. First, she had to prepare food and drinks. Even if she had the juice of the guaichao, that Zhongli still had to eat and drink, right? Little Wu Yun and a large kitchen knife were necessary. She also had to prepare the sticky silk and rope. In case little Wu Yun could not use them, these things would be useful. This guy even specially prepared a large bronze mirror. Finally, he looked at the small silver snake with disdain and put it on his hair. Then he valiantly went to the teleportation formation of the nameless ancestral master's cave abode. When the disciples guarding the teleportation formation saw the sect leader's order that Yun Chujio took out, they immediately opened the teleportation formation. Then they were stunned to see that Yun Chujio kept putting things on the teleportation formation. Buckets, food boxes, clothes, quilts, and a big iron pot. And that was not all. She was carrying a big bag on her back. It was unknown what she was carrying. Well, she was carrying a puppy in her arms. Did she want to settle down in the ancestral master's cave? The disciples looked at Yun Chujio with twitching lips. In the end, they opened the teleportation array speechlessly. A white light flashed. When Yun Chujio regained her sight, she was already on the stone platform of the ancestral master's cave. She dragged all the things to the side to avoid being accidentally teleported back. That would be a loss that would not be worth it. Zhang Li, who was already so hungry that he did not have much strength left, looked at Yun Chujio in a daze. Why was this little girl here? Yun Chujio waved her claws. Martial Uncle Zhang, long time no see. Zhang Li laughed bitterly. He did not say anything. What could he say? He felt that he was really a good-for-nothing now. Originally, he wanted to talk to Wan Qingba about what happened back then. He wanted to see if there were any flaws. However, he did not expect that he would be possessed by the devil again. In the end, he almost starved to death. Chapter 38-48. He chased after me. Yun Chujio tactfully did not ask any more questions. Instead, she took out a bowl of porridge from a food box and handed it to Zhang Li. Zhang Li was about to cramp from hunger, so he did not have the time to be unreasonable. He took it and wolfed down the porridge. Only then did he feel that he had regained some of his strength. Zhang Li laughed bitterly at himself and said, "Although I don't have any evidence, there is a high chance that the incident back then was related to Wan Qingba. Moreover, I was not possessed by the devil. I was just drugged by him." "Then what do you plan to do, Uncle Master Zhang?" Zhang Li laughed bitterly again. "If it was my usual personality, I would have gone straight to Wan Qingba to take revenge. However, I now know that even if my spiritual power is higher than Wan Qingba's, I have already become an abandoned child. How can I defeat him? If I go out this time, I will hide my strength and bide my time. I will wait for an opportunity and slowly plan it out." Yun Chujio was quite satisfied with Zhang Li's words. Although she was a little stupid, she could still be saved. Martial nephew Yun, why are you here? Did you come here just to give me food? Zhang Li asked with a touch of touched. Yes, I can't just stand by and watch her die. Besides, didn't I get some advice from the patriarch last time in this cave abode? I want to learn a few more moves. Yun Chujio said with a smile. Zhang Li had heard about Yun Chujio eating poisonous mushrooms. The corner of his mouth twitched, but he didn't say anything. After all, this little girl was already his savior if she could give him food and drinks. After a moment of silence, Zhang Li looked at the things that Yun Chujio brought. Everything else was fine, but what was the use of that big iron pot? Could it be that she wanted to build a fire to cook? Not to mention other things, they didn't even have firewood. Zhang Li explained his question, and Yun Chujio said with a smile, if it rains, we can use it to catch the rain. Zhang Li was speechless. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, but no matter what, when this little girl came, he felt that his days were not so difficult anymore. Zhang Li looked at Buttface, who was running around, and the small silver snake coiled in Yun Chujio's hair. He muttered in his heart, this Yun Chujio looks quite smart, but why does her spiritual pet look so ordinary? Zhang Li asked about Yun Chujio's mission, and Yun Chujio told him about it. If your fiancé's subordinates are so outstanding, then your fiancé is also very outstanding, right? Yun Chujio said proudly, of course. My fiancé is a very handsome man, and he is also very powerful. Hearing Yun Chujio's words, the small silver snake on Yun Chujio's head had a hint of satisfaction in its eyes. Zhang Li followed up with a few words of praise, and then asked curiously, since he's so outstanding, how did you two meet? Yun Chujio pouted unhappily and said, Martial Uncle Zhang, look at your words, it's as if I'm superior to him. Let me tell you the truth. My fiancé fell in love with me at first sight. He cried and begged me to be with him. He even threatened me with his life. I'm a soft-hearted person. In the end, I reluctantly agreed. Otherwise, a peerless beauty like me might not have taken a fancy to him. Patter. The small silver color on Yun Chujio's head jumped from Yun Chujio's hair to the ground. Then she quickly climbed into the cave. However, before she left, she turned around and glanced at Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio saw a trace of disdain in the snake's eyes. She was so angry that she almost vomited blood. You little pervert, how dare you look down on me? Are you looking for a beating? Chapter 38-49. A certain respected figure who had to suffer for his pride. Zhang Li did not notice the small silver snake's gaze. He only thought that the small silver snake was playful, so he climbed into the cave. Zhang Li asked Yun Chujio about some other things, and Yun Chujio could only let the small silver snake go for now. However, the black book in her heart had added another sum to it. The little silver snake crawled into the cave. Its pair of cold vertical eyes looked at the stone bed in the distance. It did not crawl over. Instead, it crawled to a corner and curled itself into a ball. The overlord, who was fighting against the heavens and the earth, was actually feeling even more bitter than Huang Lian. Even though he had sealed the 7 emotions and 6 desires, he still did not want to tell Yun Chujio the truth. Also, could it be that your fiancé went overboard when he sealed the 7 emotions and 6 desires and accidentally turned himself into a snake? Or could it be that you came to flirt with me? As long as you flirted well, I would be able to break the seal? A certain someone decided to use his spiritual power to slowly break the seal. He would definitely be able to break it. Yes, he would definitely be able to, right? Yun Chujio and Zhang Li chatted for a while more before entering the cave with a sinister smile. She held the silver snake's tail in her hand and said with a sinister smile, "Little thing, you still dare to look down on me? You really have the guts of a bear. Watch how I'll deal with you." Yun Chujio carried the silver snake to the side of the stone platform and said to the silver snake, "Little thing, smile for me. Otherwise I'll throw you down there. I guarantee that it'll crush you into pieces." Zhang Li, who was standing at the side, could not bear to look at her. How could she treat her spiritual pet like this? This little girl was too unattractive. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. The small silver snake's eyes did not show any emotion, as if it did not know that there was a bottomless abyss below. Seeing this, Yun Chujio could not help but feel a little puzzled. She remembered that this little perverted dragon was not very brave, so how could it become so bold now? Thinking of this, Yun Chujio held the small silver snake in her hand and looked at it. Whether it was its color or appearance, it was different from the previous little pervert. Could it be that because of the change in appearance, its personality had changed as well? Just like the kitten from back then? Yun Chujio subconsciously used her hand to touch the small silver snake's body. The small silver snake could not help but stiffen its body. With all its strength, it leaped away from Yun Chujio's hand and crawled into the cave. Yun Chujio stomped her foot angrily and followed him into the cave. She saw the small silver snake lying in a corner with its small head upright. Its pair of vertical eyes stared at her coldly, but there seemed to be a trace of anger in its coldness. Before Yun Chujio could make a move, the small silver snake lowered its head weakly. A certain someone's heart was like a dog's. So hungry he was going to starve to death. But asking him to ask that little girl for food? It was better to starve. Yun Chujio also noticed that the small silver snake seemed to be a little strange. Could it be that it was frightened by her just now? Yun Chujio curled her lips. Forget it, I won't argue with you, little bastard. If you dare to disrespect me again, I'll kill you. After Hei Xingjiu finished speaking, she swaggered out of the cave. Little bastard? Good, very good. Outside the cave, Yun Chujio chatted with Zhang Li for a while before they began to compete in swordsmanship. Zhang Li was the original head disciple after all. He used the space-breaking swordsmanship that only true disciples were qualified to learn. Although it couldn't be compared to the nameless swordsmanship of Master Ouyang and the others, it was still considered a high-tier swordsmanship. Yun Chujio used the 5-element sword technique of an outer sect disciple, but it was slightly improved. Chapter 3850. Even though Zhang Li knew that Yun Chujio had learned 3 mysterious sword techniques, he felt that a little girl at the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm was not that powerful, so he was a little careless at the beginning. However, when they really fought, he was shocked. Not to mention this sword technique, just this little girl's movement technique was very shocking to him. This movement technique was too fast. As they fought, he realized that although the little girl was using the 5-element swordsmanship, she had obviously improved some parts of it. It was actually not inferior to the space-shattering swordsmanship that he used. It was really unbelievable. Yun Chujio also received some inspiration during the competition. It was not until the sky turned dark that the two of them stopped sparring. The two of them entered the cave. Yun Chujio took out a nightlight pearl from her bag to illuminate the place. Then she arranged the food and asked Zhang Li to come over for dinner. Martial Uncle Zhang, you can't use a storage ring on this, so the food can only be stored for 2 days at most. Therefore I didn't bring much food. But don't worry, I brought a few bottles of fasting pills and fruits and vegetables that are easy to preserve. It's enough for us to last for a month, Yun Chujio said as she ate. Zhang Li nodded. It didn't matter what he ate. As long as he didn't die of hunger or thirst, it was fine. Yun Chujio threw a few pieces of meat and bones to Dog 2 and asked it to eat them. A thought flashed through her mind and she finally remembered something. Ever since Enfeng gave the little yellow dragon to her, she didn't seem to have fed it anything. No wonder the little yellow dragon didn't treat her well. Was it complaining that she didn't give it anything to eat? Logically speaking, the little yellow dragon was very thick-skinned. If she didn't give it anything to eat, why didn't it know that she wanted it? Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Although Yun Chujio had some doubts in her heart, she still picked up a steamed bun and threw it to the small silver snake in the corner. The small silver snake looked at the steamed bun in front of it and then looked at the meat and bones in front of Buttface. Its eyes darkened a little, but it still accepted its fate and began to eat the steamed bun. Zhang Li glanced at the small silver snake that was fighting with the steamed bun, then he smiled and said, Martial Nephew Yun, your spirit pet is special. Generally speaking, snake-type spirit pets prefer to eat meat, but this one of yours actually eats the steamed bun so well. Yun Chujio touched her nose with a rare guilty conscience. Could she say that the little dragon was hungry? Seeing that the little silver snake was almost choked to death by the steamed bun, the little snake kindly took a water bowl and placed it in front of the little silver snake. Then it said with slight disdain, drink some water so that you won't choke to death. The small silver snake's body stiffened. In the end, it resigned itself to its fate and began to drink water. If not for its special circumstances, it would have died long ago if it did not eat or drink for a few days. Seeing that the small silver snake was very impatient to drink, Yun Chujio touched her nose guiltily. This was really not her fault. Who asked the small dragon not to take the initiative to eat and drink? Even if it could not communicate with her, she and the cute pets did not carry it when they ate. It could totally eat by itself, so it deserved it. It was not its fault. Yes, that was it. After dinner, Zhang Li took the initiative to say, Martial Nephew Yun, you can sleep on the stone bed tonight. I will make do on the ground. After Zhongli finished speaking, he thought that Yun Chujio would be humble. He did not expect to hear Yun Chujio say with a smile, "Martial Uncle Zhang, then I will not be polite. I'm a girl. It is not good for me to sleep on the ground." Zhang Li, however, he had originally sincerely let Yun Chujio sleep on the stone bed, so he only smiled bitterly and did not say anything. Chapter 38:51. Miserable Dog 2. Before Yun Chujio went to sleep, she gave Dog 2 a look. Dog 2 knew that Yun Chujio wanted it to stare at the small silver snake, so it immediately nodded its head and lay down next to the small silver snake. The small silver snake thought of the meat bones and steamed buns for dinner, and it looked at Dog 2 with an even colder gaze. Dog 2 was so scared that it took a few steps back. Buttface was puzzled. The strength of a divine beast and a fierce beast were equal. Moreover, this little dragon was just a cub. How could it be so scary? It was really strange. Could it be that Buttface's courage had really become smaller? Buttface raised his head to look at the little silver snake again and realized that it had already closed its eyes. Buttface silently cursed a few times and then closed his eyes. Anyway, his senses were sharp and he wasn't afraid that the little dragon would do something bad. However, the little silver snake slowly opened its eyes. A certain being's heart was about to break down. He had had enough. He had to think of a way to break the seal. Otherwise, when would these days end? However, how could he break the seal quickly? He recalled that during the day when Yun Chujio touched him, the seal seemed to loosen a little. Perhaps it would be fine if he was intimate with her? After a long struggle, a certain being finally decided to give it a try. Therefore, the small silver snake crawled towards Yun Chujio. Buttface seemed to have sensed something and opened his eyes. When he saw the small silver snake actually crawling towards Yun Chujio, his dog eyes immediately widened. However, just as he was about to call out, he was frightened by the small silver snake's cold eyes and didn't dare to make a sound. Buttface was so conflicted in his heart. Although he was a fierce beast and shameless, he was loyal to the little fairy. Could it be that he had betrayed the little fairy just like that? Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. In the end, Buttface mustered up his courage and approached the stone bed, ready to see what the little silver snake wanted to do. If it dared to harm the little fairy, he would take care of it no matter what. Seeing that the little silver snake was only coiled around Yun Chujio's wrist and didn't do anything else, Buttface decided to observe it again. The miserable Buttface kept staring at the dog until daybreak. He thought to himself that when the little fairy woke up, she would find the little dragon. At that time he wouldn't even need to complain. The little fairy would also take care of him. However, just as he was thinking, the little lecherous dragon quickly climbed down the stone platform and shrank back into the corner. When Buttface was about to follow him, Yun Chujio woke up. Yun Chujio looked at Buttface with dissatisfaction and said in a low voice, "Buttface, didn't I tell you to keep an eye on the little lecherous dragon? Why are you lying here? Do you want to be beaten up?" As it was afraid that Zhongli would hear it, Buttface couldn't speak, so it could only look at Yun Chujio with resentment. Then it glared at the little silver snake who was playing dead. In its heart, it hated the little silver snake. Buttface made up its mind. If the little dragon was to coil around the little fairy's wrist again tonight, it would report it on the spot and let the little fairy catch it in the act. Then it would see how the little dragon would show off. At this moment, Zhongli also woke up. He vaguely heard Yun Chujio scolding Buttface, but he did not take it to heart. He only thought that Yun Chujio was playing with his spiritual pet. During the day, Yun Chujio and Zhongli were still sparring with each other on sword techniques. Yun Chujio was fighting while thinking about drugging Zhongli at night. She could only go down to the pool after she had drugged Zhongli. The miserable Zhongli did not know that the little girl opposite him was playing dirty tricks. He was still very serious about dissecting the sword moves with Yun Chujio. Chapter 38:52. Was this venerable self worse than a dog during dinner? Yun Chujio took out a wine gourd and secretly used sleeping powder inside. Zhongli quickly fainted. Yun Chujio said guiltily, "Uncle Master Zhang, it's been hard on you. Just take it as a nap." After saying that, she brought Buttface out of the cave. The little silver snake was so angry. Was he planning to abandon this venerable self? Could it be that in her heart, this venerable self couldn't be compared to a dog? A certain venerable self didn't even think about it. He was now a little lecherous dragon that was not welcomed. Naturally, he couldn't be compared to Buttface. The little silver snake took the cold air and quickly jumped out of the cave, blocking in front of Yun Chujio. Only then did Yun Chujio realize that she was missing a headpiece. She picked up the little silver snake and placed it on her hair in disgust. She muttered, "Wrap yourself tightly in a while. If you fall, don't blame me." After Yun Chujio finished speaking, she took out the little Wu Yun from her bag. The little Wu Yun immediately flew around the stone platform. It was clear that there was no problem at all. Thinking about it, it made sense. The place was surrounded by clouds and mist. Naturally, the little Wu Yun could also fly. It was also strange. In some areas where flying was prohibited, the little Wu Yun could not fly. In some places it could. Perhaps it was because the little Wu Yun was not strong enough. After all, that stupid big Wu Yun could fly anywhere. Speaking of which, that stupid big Wu Yun hadn't appeared for a long time. Perhaps he was punished after he went back. Yun Chujio quickly threw this idea to the back of her mind. She carried Buttface up to the little Wu Yun and directed the little Wu Yun to fly down into the pool. Soon the little Wu Yun flew to the top of the pool. Buttface jumped into the water and Yun Chujio also jumped into the pool. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Yun Chujio couldn't wait to take out the big bronze mirror from her bag and adjust the angle of the reflection of the moonlight. Soon she was happy to see a figure dancing on the cliff wall. However, the figure was still dancing with half of the sword techniques that Yun Chujio had learned. Yun Chujio couldn't help but feel discouraged. Yun Chujio tried to change the angle again, but she didn't find anything new. She could only stare at the figure on the cliff wall. Could it be that this figure only knew half a set of sword techniques? As the angle of the moonlight changed, even if Yun Chujio had a large copper mirror, the figure gradually disappeared on the cliff wall. Yun Chujio put away the copper mirror in frustration and decided to come back the next night to take a look. Yun Chujio originally wanted to call little Wu Yun to bring her up, but she felt that the water was warm, so a bath was not bad. So she said to Buttface, "Dog 2, let little Wu Yun take you somewhere else for a while. I want to take a bath. If you dare to peek, I'll poke your dog eyes out." Dog 2 immediately said eagerly, "Little fairy, don't worry. I promise I won't peek. If I peek, I won't be a dog." Yun Chujio, you're not a dog in the first place, alright? Are you addicted to being a dog? After little Wu Yun took Buttface away, Yun Chujio began to take off her clothes one by one. Then she realized that something warm was flowing down her face. It's raining? Yun Chujio wiped it with her hand, but it was a bright red color. Blood. She subconsciously thought that she was injured, but how could she be injured all of a sudden? And she didn't feel any pain. Yun Chujio was stunned for a while before she realized that there was a headpiece in her hair. Chapter 3853. Ever since they entered the pool, the small silver snake had been very quiet. Therefore, both Dog 2 and Yun Chujio had forgotten that it was still coiled in Yun Chujio's hair. Yun Chujio pulled the small silver snake out of her hair. To be more precise, it could no longer be called a small silver snake because the whole snake had a faint pink color and was still bleeding from its nose. Yun Chujio was burning with anger and gnashed her teeth in hatred. "You pervert, how dare you peek at me? I'll strangle you to death." The poor lord was pinched by Hei Shinjio and almost suffocated to death. Fortunately, he finally came back to his senses and shrunk his body suddenly before jumping into the water. Otherwise, he would have been strangled to death by his wife. The lord felt that he was quite innocent, and it was not what he wanted to see. Besides, his emotions and desires were sealed now, so he did not feel anything even if he looked at her, not to mention that she was still wearing her undergarments. As for why her nose was bleeding and why her body had turned pink, a certain lord attributed it to the fact that it was too hot here. Yes, that was it. Seeing the small silver snake slither into the water, Hei Shinjio became even more furious. She dived into the water and began to catch the snake. Unfortunately, the small silver snake had made herself very small. Moreover, Yun Chujio could not use her spiritual power now, so the little snake could not catch her even after using a lot of effort. She was so tired that she was panting. Good. Very fast. Little yellow dragon, you can run very well, can't you? You can just stay in this pool from now on. You can just wait here for death. After saying that, Yun Chujio put on her coat and pulled her neck to call little Wu Yun and Buttface back. Then she sat on little Wu Yun and left. A certain lord was dumbfounded. She left just like that? She didn't care about him anymore? It wasn't like she had never seen him before. Was there a need to be so angry? Besides, her small figure was only exposed to little he. What was there to be shy about? Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. A certain someone cursed in his heart as he looked at the nosebleed that was flowing down again. That, he wouldn't die from blood loss, right? Sitting on little Wu Yun, Yun Chujio was so angry that she gritted her teeth. Although she was still wearing her undergarment just now, when she thought about how she had been taken advantage of by that little lecherous dragon, she was so angry that her head buzzed. Buttface also slowly realized that he had thought of the little silver snake. His heart was filled with schadenfreude and guilt. The schadenfreude was naturally because the little silver snake was about to suffer. The guilt was because he was afraid that Yun Chujio would vent her anger on him. After all, he had forgotten to remind Yun Chujio about the little silver snake. Yun Chujio directed little Wu Yun to the stone platform and then entered the cave. Zhongli was still in a deep sleep. Yun Chujio sat on the stone bed and cursed at the little pervert dozens of times before lying down on the stone bed to catch up on her sleep. It was only when the sun was high in the sky that Zhongli opened his eyes in a daze. He had slept so soundly that he did not suspect anything. He thought that it was because he drank too much. While eating breakfast, Zhongli asked curiously, "Martial nephew Yun, where is your little snake?" Yun Chujio said unhappily, "It strangled itself to death." Zhongli, after breakfast, the two of them continued to spar with each other. However, Yun Chujio was a little absent-minded. She had thrown that little lecherous dragon into the pond. Would anything happen to it? Although that lecherous beast was very detestable, it did not see anything. Moreover, it was not subjective or intentional. Punishment naturally had to be punished, but it wasn't to the extent of taking its life. Moreover, if it was discovered by others, it might be in trouble. Therefore, during dinner, Yun Chujio added some more ingredients into the wine. After Zhongli passed out, she sat on the little Wu Yun and brought Buttface down to the pool. Chapter 38:54. Calm down. The small silver snake was coiled on a slightly protruding stone wall beside the pond. When it saw Yun Chujio coming over, it did not run away. It looked as if it was at her mercy. Cough cough, a certain god who had been waiting for the stars and the moon had finally come looking for Yun Chujio. Naturally, it had learned its lesson. When Yun Chujio saw the small silver snake, she recalled both old and new grudges. She held the small silver snake in her left hand and the large kitchen knife in her right hand. She said darkly, "Pervert, I will castrate you today. Let's see if you still have the heart to be a pervert in the future." Suddenly the entire snake felt uneasy. Yun Chujio saw the small silver snake as she wished and trembled in fear. She snorted coldly. "You know fear now? I'm warning you. This is the first and last time. If I find out that you still harbor ill intentions towards me, I'll castrate you." After saying that, Yun Chujio threw the small silver snake into the water and no longer cared about its life or death. Buttface was gloating when he saw the small silver snake being defeated. He moved closer to the small silver snake that was as stiff as a log and said, "Little dragon, when you come up, I will report your crimes to your excellency. TSK, your excellency is a big vinegar jar. When that time comes, you will be miserable." The small silver snake glanced at Buttface coldly and then dived into the water. He had to stay calm. No matter who was almost castrated by his wife, it would be difficult to stay calm, okay? Yun Chujio took out the bronze mirror again. After a long while, she still could not see the figure of the sword-wielding man. She thought to herself that it seemed that only on a full moon night could she see him. However, she did not know why he did not have the second half of the sword technique. Since he did not have the sword technique, there was no need for him to stay in the pool. Yun Chujio put the little silver snake on her hair with a look of disgust and sat on the little Wu Yun to return to the cave. The next morning, Yun Chujio and Zhongli had just eaten breakfast when the teleportation array suddenly opened and someone was sent up. The person was dressed in the uniform of the nameless sword sect's successor disciple. His face was handsome, but there was a trace of arrogance at the corner of his eyes. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Zhongli was delighted when he saw the young man. "Junior brother Zhuanghong, did master ask me to leave early?" Zhuanghong looked at Zhongli with slight disdain. "Zhongli, you are no longer a successor disciple. You are not even an inner disciple. A person should know his own limits. You should stop calling the sect leader master." Zhongli looked at Zhuanghong in disbelief. His face suddenly turned pale. Zhuanghong's gaze fell on Yun Chujio. "Yun Chujio, the sect leader has something to ask you. Come with me." Yun Chujio stretched out her hand. Where is the sect leader's order? Zhuang Hong was stunned. He then said arrogantly, I am the sect leader's true disciple. How can I lie to you? If you continue to dawdle, then don't go out. Zhuang Hong thought that with his threat, Yun Chujio would definitely obediently leave with him. Who would have thought that Yun Chujio would slightly curl the corner of her lips and said indifferently, I don't know you. Even if you are really the successor disciple of the sect master, who knows if what you said is the truth, so I will not leave with you. Zhuang Hong was stunned at first and then said angrily, Yun Chujio, you better think it through. If you don't leave with me, then you will stay here forever. Yun Chujio shrugged. Whatever. Zhuang Hong gritted his teeth. The leaders of the 3 sects of the first pavilion, second island were all waiting in the meeting hall. If he couldn't bring this Yun Chujio back, the leader would definitely blame him. Thinking of this, he softened his tone. Yun Chujio, the leader has something important to look for you. You better leave with me. Yun Chujio glanced at him. It's fine if you want me to leave with you. Let Martial Uncle Zhang go as well. Otherwise, bring the sect master's personal order over. Otherwise, I won't leave. You? Zhuang Hong's face flushed red with anger. However, when he thought of the consequences if he could not bring Yun Chujio to the meeting hall, he gritted his teeth. All right, I'll bring both of you out of here. Zhang Li looked hesitant. This will work? Yun Chujio looked at Zhang Li with a faint smile and said, What? Martial Uncle Zhang, are you prepared to wait here for someone to kill you? Zhang Li's heart trembled. He did not hesitate anymore and followed Yun Chujio into the teleportation formation. Zhang Li saw the things piled up on the stone platform and reminded, Martial nephew Yun, these things? Yun Chujio said indifferently, leave them here first. Maybe one day you will be punished again and you will have to come back. Zhang Li, you will not have any friends if you talk like this. Zhuang Hong saw the two of them talking and laughing, and he despised them in his heart. They were indeed a pair of trash, they really had the same taste. The disciple guarding the teleportation formation was stunned when he saw Zhang Li coming out as well. He said awkwardly, Martial Uncle Zhuang, Zhang Li still has half a month before the 1-month deadline. This. Zhuang Hong snorted coldly. If there's anything, I'll take care of it myself. You don't have to ask. Those disciples did not dare to say anything more and watched the 3 of them leave. Yes, speaking of which, that Zhang Li used to treat Zhuang Hong very well. But after Zhang Li's accident, Zhuang Hong did not even show his face. Why did he suddenly become kinder this time? If it wasn't for Zhang Li's accident, Zhuang Hong would never have the chance to take over the position of sect master in this lifetime. I think he would have wished for something to happen to Zhang Li. When they were about to reach the hidden sword peak, Zhuang Hong said coldly to Zhang Li, do you still want to follow us to the meeting hall? It's better to return to the lower house quickly. Zhang Li's face turned pale. He pursed his lips and nodded at Yun Chujio, then turned around and left. Yun Chujio's eyes flashed, but she did not say anything. She followed Zhuang Hong to the meeting hall. When they were about to reach the meeting hall, Zhuang Hong looked at Buttface, who was following behind Yun Chujio, with disgust. Yun Chujio, put away your spiritual pet. Spiritual pets are not allowed to enter the meeting hall. Buttface glared at Zhuang Hong fiercely with his dog eyes. He was unwillingly put into Yun Chujio's spiritual beast bag. Zhuang Hong looked at the small silver snake coiled in Yun Chujio's hair again. You can't bring this in either. Put it away. Yun Chujio still did not say anything. She obediently took the small silver snake from her hair and pretended to put it into the spiritual beast bag. In reality, she stuffed it into her sleeve. Only then did Zhuang Hong bring Yun Chujio into the meeting hall. There were many people sitting in the meeting hall, and Yun Chujio immediately saw Tower Master Luochen. It wasn't that Yun Chujio went to see him on purpose, but it was because ever since she entered the meeting hall, Tower Master Luchen's slightly gloomy gaze had been fixed on her. Yun Chujio couldn't be bothered with this crazy person. She silently glanced at the others. Besides Sect Master Huang of Xuanji Sect, whom she had met previously, there were also 3 elders. They must be the Island Masters and Sect Masters of the Flying Flower Island, Ascension Island, and Xuanwu Sect. Chapter 3856 Zhang Xiaoyu. Just as Yun Chujio was secretly poking around, Master Ouyang said in a deep voice, Yun Chujio, when we sent people to the Fallen Goose Mountain Villa, the Fallen Goose Mountain Villa was already littered with corpses. No matter if they were young or old, they were all killed. Yun Chujio was shocked, but when she thought of the style of the Divine Devil Hall, she was not surprised. The Divine Devil Hall's methods were ruthless, so they naturally would not leave anyone alive. Master Ouyang continued, "Now all the clues have been cut off. Tell us what you know about the Divine Devil Hall so that we can have a reference." Yun Chujio immediately told them what she knew, and the expressions of the sect masters changed slightly. However, Yun Chujio could see that they still did not take the Divine Devil Hall seriously. This was not surprising. After all, they had not personally dealt with the Divine Devil Hall, so they naturally felt that she was exaggerating. She was too lazy to explain. Sooner or later they would understand that what she said was true. Sect Master Huang and the others asked for some details. When Sect Master Ouyang saw that Yun Chujio did not have anything else to do, he prepared to let Yun Chujio leave and then put on a banquet to entertain everyone. Unexpectedly, Tower Master Luochen suddenly said, "Master Ouyang, why don't you ask Miss Yun to stay as well? If anyone thinks of anything during the banquet, it's convenient to ask." Tower Master Ouyang naturally wouldn't make Tower Master Luochen unhappy over such a small matter, so he nodded and said to Yun Chujio, "In that case you can stay." Yun Chujio frowned slightly. She didn't know what Lan Luochen was up to, but she couldn't just leave like this. She could only stand quietly near the door of the meeting hall. Master Ouyang immediately ordered people to set up a banquet. When Yun Chujio saw the banquet, the depression in her heart dissipated a little. This guy didn't stand on ceremony and immediately began to eat and drink. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. While Yun Chujio was eating, she felt an unfriendly gaze. She looked up and saw a young girl in light yellow clothes looking at her resentfully. When the young girl saw Yun Chujio looking at her, she curled the corners of her lips at Yun Chujio, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. Just when Yun Chujio was wondering what she meant, she heard the young girl say coquettishly, "Master Ouyang, I heard that your sect's Yun Chujio developed 3 very mysterious sword moves after eating poisonous mushrooms. I wonder if you can let me have a taste?" Before Master Ouyang could reply, Island Master Chi of Flying Flower Island said with a smile, "This is my little disciple, Xiao Yu. She's been spoiled by me. Master Ouyang, you don't have to pay attention to her. She's just a naughty child." Master Ouyang was not a fool. How could he not understand Island Master Chi's true meaning? He said with a smile, "It's normal for little girls to play and play. It's also good to let them have a competition. Yun Chujio, then you can have a competition with Xiao Yu." Yun Chujio held a chicken drumstick that she had just chewed on and reluctantly agreed, thinking to herself, is there something wrong with her? Why did she have to spar with her for no reason? Yun Chujio took out a handkerchief to wipe her hands before lazily walking to the middle of the meeting hall. Xiao Yu looked at her with disdain, thinking that this Yun Chujio was only pretty good looking. The rest were useless. What did Tower Master Luochen see in her? Just now, he actually took the initiative to ask her to stay. What right did an outer sect disciple like her have to eat with them? Today she would make a fool of herself and let Tower Master Luochen see who was his good match. Chapter 3857, The Sinking Pulp Sword. Yun Chujio, the difference in spiritual power between you and me is huge. I want to take advantage of you. We don't use spiritual power, we only use sword moves to compete. Xiao Yu said arrogantly. This virtuous lady, if you are so reasonable, why would a true disciple like you have to compete with an outer disciple like me? Don't you feel that it's a bit demeaning? Yun Chujio said faintly. Damn it, she hadn't even finished eating her chicken drumstick and it was all because of this little bitch. She actually wanted to pretend to be a white lotus in front of everyone? Shameless. Xiao Yu had clearly never met someone like He Xinjiu before. She was suddenly rendered speechless and was stunned on the spot. Seeing that she didn't speak, Yun Chujio shrugged her shoulders. Looks like you have decided to give up on competing with me. That's great. After saying that, Yun Chujio turned around and wanted to return to her seat. By the way, the chicken drumsticks today were really delicious. She could just finish the remaining half. Xiao Yu finally regained her senses and shouted in exasperation, "Stop! Did I let you go? Do you want to disobey Master Ouyang's orders?" Yun Chujio rolled her eyes. Since she was looking for trouble, then let's compete. Yun Chujio took out a tree branch from her storage ring and said perfunctorily, "Since you insist on competing, then let's compete. Let's begin." When Xiao Yu saw that Yun Chujio actually took out a tree branch to humiliate her, She gnashed her teeth in anger and immediately drew her sword to compete with Yun Chujio. Xiao Yu used the flying flower sword technique of the Flying Flower Island. Although the Flying Flower Island was not good at sword techniques, the Flying Flower sword technique was one of the best sword techniques and was only inferior to the Nameless sword technique. As for Yun Chujio, she was using the 5-element sword technique of the outer disciples of the Nameless sword sect. What was courting death was that she was holding a broken tree branch in her hand. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks therefore, everyone felt that the final winner would definitely be Xiao Yu, and it would be an easy victory. Master Ouyang also thought so. He just wanted Xiao Yu to suppress Yun Chujio's short temper so that this little girl would not float into the sky. After all, Yun Chujio was only an outer sect disciple. Even if she lost, it wouldn't be considered a disgrace to the Nameless sword sect. Tower Master Luchen's expression remained the same, but his eyes remained fixated on Yun Chujio. It was hard to tell what he was thinking. 15 minutes later, Yun Chujio and Xiao Yu were still fighting, but everyone had surprised expressions on their faces. Although the outcome had not been decided, Yun Chujio had already won. After all, the grade of the sword technique she used was much lower than the Flying Flower sword technique, and she was only holding a broken tree branch. Xiao Yu clearly realized this as well. She had originally wanted to embarrass Yun Chujio, but now she had become the one to lose face. No, she had to win this match no matter what, or else she would not have the face to appear in front of Tower Master Luochen in the future. When Xiao Yu thought of this, she took advantage of Yun Chujio's dodging time to change to a sword. The treasured sword flashed with light and everyone shockingly discovered that the treasured sword was actually condensed from water. Of course, this water wasn't ordinary water, but the special sinking slurry of the Flying Flower Island. Only the special secret technique of the Flying Flower Island could be used to make the sinking slurry sword. They didn't expect that the sword in Xiao Yu's hand was actually the sinking slurry sword. The success rate of refining the sinking slurry sword was very, very low. It was said that there were only a few of them on the Flying Flower Island. When Mia recalled that Xiao Yu was given one at such a young age, it could be seen that she was very popular with Island Master Qi. Chapter 3858. She was my fiancée. Everyone felt that there was no more suspense. Yun Chujio would definitely lose. The reason why the sinking pulp sword was precious was because it had a unique characteristic, which was to reduce the opponent's sword intent. The reason why Yun Chujio was able to tie Xiao Yu with a broken tree branch was because of her sword intent. However, now that Xiao Yu had taken out the sinking pulp sword, Yun Chujio's advantage was greatly reduced and she would soon lose. As expected, the tree branch in Yun Chujio's hand was quickly cut off by the sinking pulp sword. Hei Xinjiu only had half a foot-long tree branch in her hand. Xiao Yu revealed a cold smile. Yun Chujio, do you still need to compete? You've lost. What Xiao Yu and everyone did not expect was that Yun Chujio immediately jumped to the side. She threw the half-broken tree branch on the ground. You're absolutely right. I've lost. Can I go back to my seat and eat now? I'm starving to death. Everyone was dumbfounded. Under normal circumstances, shouldn't they continue the competition tenaciously? Why did they admit defeat so easily? Didn't she feel embarrassed? Xiao Yu stood there in a daze. She had clearly won, but why did she feel so sullen? At this moment, Tower Master Luochen said indifferently, although Xiao Yu won in the end in terms of swordsmanship, Yun Chujio is superior. The winner of this competition should be Yun Chujio. Xuanji Sect Master Huang nodded in agreement. That's right. Yun Chujio's 5-element swordsmanship is much inferior to Xiao Yu's flying flower swordsmanship, not to mention that she only has a broken tree branch in her hand. Therefore, Yun Chujio's understanding and grasp of swordsmanship is obviously better than Xiao Yu's. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Ascending Islands Island Master Luo and Xuanwu Sect Master Chen also echoed. If Xiao Yu didn't rely on the sinking pulp sword, she might have lost. Xiao Yu's face alternated between green and white. Tower Master Luchen's words were like a knife cutting her heart. She should have killed that bitch Yun Chujio with one sword just now. She bit her lips and forced out a smile. Tower Master Luochen and the other sect masters are right. In terms of swordsmanship, I am indeed inferior to Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio, why don't we compete in cultivation? After all, in a real battle, only sword techniques are not enough. Yun Chujio hated Tower Master Luochen to death. This psychopath must have done it on purpose. He was deliberately trying to gain hatred points for her, this scum. Yun Chujio glanced at the resentful Xiao Yu. I want to compete with you. I admit that you are stronger than me. You are stronger than me. Is that all right? If you are willing to compete, you can find someone else to compete with. I haven't eaten my fill yet. After Yun Chujio finished speaking, she turned around and intended to return to her seat. She did not expect Xiao Yu to directly stab her back with the sinking pulp sword. She actually intended to kill her directly. Before Yun Chujio could make any moves, Tower Master Luochen had already moved. With a palm, he forced Xiao Yu back a few steps. If not for Island Master Qi seeing that the situation was not good, he would have stopped Tower Master Luchen's palm force. It was likely that Xiao Yu would not just take a few steps back. Xiao Yu looked at Tower Master Luochen in disbelief. Did he really care about that bitch Yun Chujio that much? He actually hurt her for her? Island Master Qi frowned. Although there was something wrong with Xiao Yu, Tower Master Luchen's attack was a little too heavy. He was just about to speak when he heard Tower Master Luchen's cold voice. Yun Chujio is my fiancée. Anyone who hurts her in the future will become my enemy. Chapter 38:59. The entire snake felt at ease. There was complete silence in the meeting hall. Everyone knew that Yun Chujio and Tower Master Luochen had a history of conflict. However, everyone thought that since Yun Chujio had already joined the Nameless Sword sect, it was obvious that she was rejecting them. According to Tower Master Luchen's status and personality, after being humiliated by a woman, he shouldn't be involved anymore. Who would have thought that Tower Master Luochen wouldn't give up after hearing this? And she even had the intention of not marrying him? Yun Chujio's heart was like a beeping dog. Who the hell is your fiancé? You're so shameless. There was another person, no, a snake, who was even angrier than Yun Chujio. Her vertical pupils were so cold that it was frightening. The moment Xiao Yu made her move, the silver snake was already prepared to make her move. She didn't expect Tower Master Luochen to beat her to it. This was fine. After all, he no longer needed to rely on the hero to save the damsel in distress to please the little rascal. However, Lan Luochen actually said that the little rascal was his fiancé. Was he shameless? Perhaps it was because he was too angry. A certain someone actually felt that his seal had loosened a little. He did not know if it was a blessing in disguise. At that moment he heard the most beautiful words in the world. The entire snake immediately felt comfortable. Tower Master Luochen, thank you for saving me just now, but I have already rejected your proposal to marry me and I have a fiancé. In the future, don't say such things that make people misunderstand. In front of everyone, I also solemnly declare that I will only marry one person in my life, and that is my fiancé. After saying that, Yun Chujio didn't even look at Tower Master Luchen's uncertain expression and directly walked back to her seat. Seeing the awkward atmosphere, Master Ouyang laughed. I'm old. I really don't understand the affairs of young people like you. Come, drink. This wine is brewed from the spring water of our Nameless Sword sect. It's very mellow. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Sect Master Huang and the others also chimed in a few sentences to smooth over this matter. Although Tower Master Luchen's expression quickly returned to normal, the veins on his hands bulged. He was obviously very angry. It seemed that only by forcing her into a dead end and killing Di Biming would she be able to change her mind. Very good. He had waited for such a long time, he didn't mind waiting for another period of time. However, before that he had to collect some interest. At the end of the banquet, everyone bid farewell one after another. Master Ouyang naturally had to pretend to persuade him to stay, but unexpectedly. Tower Master Luochen said indifferently, since Master Ouyang is so kind, then I will disturb you for a few more days. Master Ouyang thought that there was something wrong with his ears. He was stunned for a moment and then said somewhat embarrassedly, Good, you are most welcome. Xiao Yu tugged at Island Master Qi's sleeve. Island Master Qi could only thicken his skin and say, Master Ouyang, then I will disturb you for a few more days. You want not welcome me, right? What else could Master Ouyang say? He could only say a few polite words with a smiling face. Sect Master Huang and the others looked at each other and recalled what had just happened. Even if they used their heels to think, there would definitely be a good show to watch. Thus, each and every one of the shameless ones also proposed to stay for a few more days. Master Ouyang cursed in his heart. These old geezers were all just watching the show and didn't think it was a big deal. None of them had any good intentions. However, he didn't have any other choice. He could only reluctantly say some polite words like welcome, gracing his humble abode, and so on. Chapter 3860. Do you understand what I mean? Yun Chujio looked at this situation and immediately felt that things were not looking good. That psychopath Lan Luochen must be up to something bad again. She had to retreat immediately. Unfortunately, before she could find an excuse to leave, she heard Tower Master Luochen say to Tower Master Ouyang, "Master Ouyang, why don't you let Yun Chujio accompany me to tour the Nameless Sword sect?" The corner of Tower Master Ouyang's eyes twitched. He knew it. Tower Master Luochen had stayed behind for Yun Chujio, and Xiaoyu had also stayed behind. If he really let Yun Chujio accompany Tower Master Luochen, wouldn't it be chaotic? Just as Tower Master Ouyang was about to find an excuse to shirk the responsibility, he heard Tower Master Luochen say, "Tower Master Ouyang, the spiritual stone mine in the distant Song Mountains has always been mined by our two families. The 10-year period has come. If there's time, we can renegotiate the share ratio." Tower Master Ouyang immediately understood the subtext of Tower Master Luchen's words. He immediately said to Yun Chujio, "Yun Chujio, if that's the case, you can accompany Tower Master Luochen to walk around for a few days." Yun Chujio was about to say something about having a stomachache, a headache, and a pain all over her body when she realized that her identity jade token was trembling. She sent her spiritual sense into it. She heard Master Ouyang's threatening words, "Yun Chujio, you are a member of the Nameless Sword sect. You have to put the big picture first." Yun Chujio was very shrewd. She immediately understood that old man Ouyang was threatening her. If she did not agree, he might find an excuse to expel her from the sect. This fellow was so angry that she gritted her teeth. However, this fellow had never been one to swallow his anger. She looked at Master Ouyang with some embarrassment, then she said, That master, although there are some things that I shouldn't say, I still have to say it. I heard that Tower Master Luochen had wandered around Chaotian sect a few times before, and the sect guarding treasure of Chaotian sect was lost. Do you understand what I mean? Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Instantly, Master Ouyang's expression was very interesting. He was angry that Yun Chujio couldn't speak, but he was also worried about the true purpose of Tower Master Luochen. The matter of Chaotian sect had been in a heated discussion. It was said that because the sect's treasure had been lost, the sect master of Chaotian sect had knelt in front of the ancestral master's tablet for 3 days and 3 nights. According to the rumors from Chaotian sect, the biggest suspect was Tower Master Luochen. Could it be that Tower Master Luochen was doing this for Yun Chujio, but in fact he had other motives? Not only Sect Master Ouyang, but also Sect Master Huang and the others showed a hint of doubt on their faces. The 9-layered pavilion was more powerful than their sections. The recent incidents in the southern continent and Chaotian sect had forced them to be on guard against the 9-layered pavilion. Tower Master Luochen insisted on staying at the Nameless Sword sect. Was it really for Yun Chujio? It wasn't that they didn't like Yun Chujio, the little girl. Though she was quite good-looking, there was no shortage of beautiful women in Towering Sky Continent. Did Tower Master Luochen have to make a big fuss to marry her? Something didn't seem right here. Tower Master Luochen glanced at the expressions of Master Ouyang and the others. He felt a bit annoyed, but at the same time he felt that Yun Chujio was the only woman he wanted. The gaze he used to look at Yun Chujio became even deeper. Unfortunately, in Yun Chujio's eyes, this gaze was no different from that of a poisonous snake. It was even 10,000 times more disgusting than a little perverted dragon. The little silver snake in Yun Chujio's sleeve had a cold gaze at this moment. Asking the little rascal to accompany him around the Nameless Sword sect? Very good, we'll see. Chapter 3861. An ice dog. For a moment the atmosphere was a little stagnant. Although Master Ouyang was a little more cautious, he couldn't really chase Tower Master Luochen out, so he glared at Yun Chujio. Nonsense. Tower Master, everyone, please go to the guest house to rest first. I will arrange for Yun Chujio and the others to accompany you on the tour tomorrow. Yun Chujio couldn't help but smile when she heard Tower Master Ouyang say, everyone. It seemed that old man Ouyang was planning to send a few more people to accompany Tower Master Luochen on the tour. It was obvious that they were accompanying him, but in reality they were monitoring him. This way she could make up the numbers. Tower Master Luochen obviously understood what Tower Master Ouyang meant. He just nodded and went to the guest house with Elder Gu and the others. After Tower Master Luochen and the others left, Master Ouyang said to Yun Chujio with a serious face, "Yun Chujio, I don't care what kind of trouble you have with Tower Master Luochen. You have to bear with it for the next few days. If you cause any trouble, I can't protect you." Yun Chujio said obediently, "Master Ouyang, don't worry. I promise I won't say anything if I can. I won't make a move if I can. I won't cause any trouble." Master Ouyang, why did he have a very bad feeling? Master Ouyang waved his hand speechlessly, indicating that Yun Chujio could leave. Master Ouyang looked at Yun Chujio's back and took a deep breath. He felt that it was not safe to bet on this little girl. When the time came, he would just send more people to accompany her. He would think of a way to separate Yun Chujio from Tower Master Luochen and Xiaoyu so that there would not be any major problems. Yun Chujio left the meeting hall. As she walked, she muttered, "Damn it, he still wants me to accompany him to tour the Nameless Sword Sect? How shameless. However, there are many places I haven't been to the Nameless Sword Sect. It's not bad to take the opportunity to step on the plates." Yun Chujio had just arrived at the lower house when she saw Zhang Li. "Come and read on our website Wuxia World site." "Thanks, Marshal Nephew Yun, are you alright? Why is the sect master looking for you?" Zhang Li asked with some worry. Yun Chujio waved her hand nonchalantly. "It's nothing. He just wants me to accompany Tower Master Luochen and the others to tour the Nameless Sword Sect for the next few days." Zhang Li heaved a sigh of relief and asked curiously, "Didn't you reject Tower Master Luochen? From the looks of it, he won't give up?" Yun Chujio pouted. "Then he's a psychopath. Marshal Uncle Zhang, I'm not going to chat with you anymore. I'll return to the courtyard first." Although Zhang Li had never heard of a psychopath, he understood that it was not a good thing. He thought to himself, it seemed that this little girl really did not have a good impression of Tower Master Luochen. Yun Chujio hopped into her courtyard. Just as she was about to take a bath, she remembered the little silver snake in her sleeve. She fiercely threw it on the stone table in the courtyard and then let Dog 2 out to keep an eye on it. Buttface flatteringly expressed his loyalty. "Little fairy, don't worry. I promise to keep an eye on this pervert. I won't let him come near the house." Yun Chujio nodded and entered the house to take a bath. Buttface stared at the little silver snake with his dog eyes and said fiercely, "You better behave yourself, or I'll have you castrated by the little fairy." As soon as Buttface said that, he felt a cold aura envelop him. He instantly became an ice dog. Buttface's mind went blank. Then the first thought that came to his mind was, isn't the little perverted dragon a fire spirit root? Why does it look like an ice spirit root now? Chapter 3862. The thought of scaring the dog to death. The ice on Dog 2's body began to melt bit by bit. When the dog saw the silver snake's cold eyes, it had a bold, unreliable and frightening thought. When this thought appeared, the whole dog was in a bad mood. It trembled and said in a trembling voice, You, no, it can't be your majesty, right?" The small silver snake made a cold grunt, and this grunt exploded in Dog 2's head. It's over. It's over. Not only did it scold your majesty a few hundred times, it even said that it would castrate him. Did it still have a way to live? Countless ways to die flashed through Dog 2's mind. It was slapped to death, strangled to death, frozen to death and dismembered by 5 horses. Buttface was on the verge of collapse. He grumbled in his heart, my lord, if you are not a good person, what kind of snake are you? Are you so bored that your balls hurt?" Buttface's legs gave way and he lay on the ground. He kept begging for mercy. My lord, it's not strange if you don't know. If I had known it was you, I wouldn't have disrespected you even if you beat me to death. You are a magnanimous person, so you definitely won't argue with me, right?" Buttface saw that the silver snake was still staring at him coldly, and he was almost about to cry. This fellow had a sudden flash of wisdom, and a bright light flashed in his head. Immediately, a pair of dog eyes burst out with a flattering light. "Your Majesty, I was wrong. I'm not a human, not a dog. I will definitely atone for my sins by doing whatever you want me to do in the future. Do you want to peek at the little fairy taking a bath? Go ahead, just treat me as a blind dog." After Dog 2 finished speaking, the silver snake's eyes turned even colder. A certain deity wished that he could slap this dog who couldn't speak human language to death. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. What did he mean by wanting to peek at the little rascal taking a bath? Was he such a person with no moral integrity? Well, it wasn't impossible to go and take a look. Perhaps he could break the seal? With this thought in mind, a certain deity jumped down from the stone table and quickly crawled towards the direction of the house. Dog 2. It felt that the image of a certain lord in its mind had collapsed into a pile of rubble. So you are such a lord. Does the little fairy know about it? Dog 2 stared at the little silver snake as it arrived at the door. It shrunk its body several times and crawled through the crack of the door. Only then did Dog 2 feel that it had done something that had wronged the little fairy. Immediately the whole dog fell into self-blame. However, between being slapped to death by the Lord and self-blame, it would rather choose to blame itself. However, Buttface soon saw the silver snake crawl out from the crack of the door. However, from the door to the stone table, there was nosebleeds all over the floor. Buttface, Your Majesty, are you afraid that the little fairy won't notice you? Are you deliberately leaving clues for her? Are you going to turn into snake soup? Just as Buttface was complaining, he felt a white light flash in front of him. Then his nose was extremely sore and 2 nosebleeds flowed down. Before Buttface could react, the door was pushed open. Yun Chujio glanced at the little silver snake and Buttface with a murderous look. Finally, her eyes fell on Buttface, who was bleeding. Good. Buttface, I thought you were reliable. I didn't expect you to be a pervert. I must kill you and eat your dog meat today. Buttface, Your Excellency, is it really good for you to frame me like this? Where is your moral integrity? Chapter 3863. Buttface. Just as Buttface was about to explain, he caught a glimpse of the cold eyes of a small snake. He immediately lost the courage to tell the truth. He felt that he would not be able to see the sun the next day. Little fairy, listen to me. It's not what you think. Buttface ran around the yard to avoid the whip in Yun Chujio's hand. Yun Chujio would not listen to his explanation. Although she was covered by the bathtub, she was not wearing any clothes. This was worse than the last time when the little dragon peeked. Seeing that Yun Chujio had the urge to cut it into pieces, Buttface looked at the little silver snake for help. However, there was no emotion in the little silver snake's eyes, as if it had nothing to do with it. Buttface wanted to cry, but he had no tears. In his desperation, he shouted, Little fairy, don't you know me? I don't like people with your figure. I like people with boobs, boobs, and boobs. The small silver snake's eyes flashed with a hint of schadenfreude. The little rascal hated people talking about her figure the most. Buttface was dead. Sure enough, Yun Chujio was furious. She threw the whip on the ground and shot a bolt of lightning at Buttface. Buttface, tonight's dinner is roast dog meat. Buttface also realized that he had said something stupid. He regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. Soon he smelled a burnt smell. Woo-woo, he was going to turn into curly hair. Buttface finally thought of an excuse. Little fairy, I swear to God, I really didn't peek at you. Come and read on our website, Wuxia World site. Thanks, I just had my nose bleeding from the little dragon. I wanted to complain to you, but halfway through, I realized that it wasn't a good time to complain, so I stepped back. In all conscience, I didn't see anything. Besides, isn't there a door inside? I can't see it either. Yun Chujio looked at Buttface suspiciously and thought that it made sense. The door inside wasn't open, so Buttface couldn't see anything even through the crack. Was he really wronged? Seeing that Yun Chujio stopped moving, Buttface quickly pointed at his nose with his paw. Little fairy, if you don't believe me, look at my nose. This is what the little perverted dragon slapped with its tail. Yun Chujio saw Erguzi's nose is indeed a little red and swollen, and believe a few points, mainly Erguzi's usual performance is still good, not like to do peep at her bathing things. Moreover, Buttface often and Meng Yinsho too mutter, too idiot aesthetic is extremely consistent, like that kind of, well, very full figure. Buttface saw that Yun Chujio's expression was a little relaxed. He immediately raised one of his paws and said, I, Buttface, swear to God. If I peek at the little fairy bathing, I will be a single dog for the rest of my life and never find a wife. Little fairy, this is really a misunderstanding. Yun Chujio saw that Buttface's eyes were full of sincerity and finally let him go. She said fiercely, remember this for now. If I find out that you are lying, humph. Dog 2 thought to itself that it was indeed lying. Damn it, the one who was really peeking was that little perverted dragon. No, it was that pervert. When Dog 2 thought of this, it couldn't help but feel a little puzzled. His Majesty had always been cold and aloof. How did he become a pervert who peeked at the little fairy bathing? Was he finally enlightened? Although Dog 2 was suspicious, it didn't have the courage to ask a certain someone. Moreover, the most important thing now was to clear its name in front of the little fairy. Otherwise, its dog life would be in danger. Chapter 3864 turned out to be a pretentious act. Buttface tried his best to flatter Yun Chujio, which finally made her treat him better. During dinner, Yun Chujio threw a few meat bones to Buttface as usual and a steamed bun to the small silver snake. Just as Buttface was about to enjoy the meat bones, he suddenly felt cold. He tilted his head and saw a small snake looking at him coldly. To be precise, it was looking at his meat bones. Dog 2 looked at the steamed bun in front of the small snake and then at the meat bone in front of it. It had an epiphany. It eagerly held a piece of meat bone in its mouth and placed it in front of the small silver snake. "Your Majesty. Little perverted dragon, you can eat it." Dog 2 thought that it was a close call. It almost said that it was bald. A certain Supreme wanted to slap Dog 2 to death in his heart. Would he, an exalted Supreme, fight over a meat bone with a dog? He was just a little unaccustomed to the fact that the little rascal treated Buttface better than him. When Buttface saw the little silver snake looking at him coldly, he finally realized that he was a little stupid, so he eagerly took the meat bone back. Yun Chujio was initially wondering why Buttface suddenly treated the little dragon so well. Now that he had taken the meat bone back, she felt that Buttface was playing with the little dragon, and she couldn't help but laugh. She touched her chin. It seemed a little cruel to feed the little dragon steamed buns, so she placed a plate of ribs on the table in front of the little silver snake. The little silver snake's cold eyes immediately softened. The ribs were much more elegant than the meat bone. While eating, Yun Chujio looked at the little silver snake who was gnawing on the ribs. For some reason, she felt that the little silver snake looked very noble and elegant when eating. She thought to herself, what the hell? Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, noble and elegant doesn't have anything to do with this little lecherous dragon, okay? She must have been angered by Dog 2. Thinking of this, Yun Chujio fiercely glared at Dog 2. Dog 2, who did it offend? Why was it being glared at for no reason? After dinner, Yun Chujio cultivated for a while. She thought to herself that her spiritual power had stayed at the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm for a long time. She had to think of a way to break through. Although little Wu Yun had absorbed some lightning power and could be struck for a while, Yun Chujio was not willing to use it. This fellow was still hoping that little Wu Yun would bring her to fly at the critical moment. Moreover, to break through to the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm, she needed a large amount of spiritual power. Only by being struck by lightning could she successfully advance. She did not know what was going on with that idiot Big Wu Yun. Why didn't Wu Yun come to strike her? Yun Chujio pondered for a while and couldn't think of any good ideas. In the end, she fell asleep in a daze. When Dog 2 saw that Yun Chujio was asleep, its dog eyes immediately lit up. It looked at the small silver snake with a flattering look and then pointed at Yun Chujio with its claws. That meant, don't stand on ceremony and hurry up. The small silver snake glanced at Dog 2 indifferently and then closed its eyes. Buttface thought, Your Majesty has returned to normal? I knew it. How could Your Majesty secretly take advantage of the little fairy? Just as Buttface was thinking, the little silver snake quickly climbed onto the bed and coiled itself around Yun Chujio's wrist. Buttface was dumbfounded. He cursed in his heart, "Oh my, so you are pretending to be reserved. I didn't expect you to be such an honorable person." Buttface spent a sleepless night. The reason was very simple. If a certain black-hearted person was found out, he might be framed again. He could only bitterly help to keep watch. Chapter 3865 was still as mischievous as ever. Buttface stared at her with his dog eyes. He had finally endured until daybreak. Seeing that the little silver snake had finally reluctantly climbed down from the bed, Buttface heaved a sigh of relief. When would this miserable life end? Just as Yun Chujio was sleeping soundly, her identity jade token trembled. The fellow closed his eyes and sent his spiritual sense in. Elder Gus's voice came from inside, urging her to hurry to the guest house. Yun Chujio endured her anger and replied. Then she hugged the quilt and rolled on the bed a few times. She pouted and began to wash up. Yun Chujio ate a few meat buns, put Buttface into the spirit beast bag and put the small silver snake into her sleeve. Only then did she leave the courtyard. When Yun Chujio arrived at the guest courtyard, Sect Master Huang and the others had already gathered at the entrance of the guest courtyard, chatting and laughing. Elder Gu, Elder Wan and Zhuang Hong were at the side, smiling and accompanying her. Yun Chujio looked at the staffing and couldn't help but give a thumbs up to Master Ouyang in her heart. Elder Jiyu was a direct descendant of Master Ouyang, and he was very smooth in handling matters, so he was very familiar with the matters of the sect. Zhuang Hong was similar in age and seniority to Xiao Yu and the others, so it was more convenient to communicate with him. As for why Master Ouyang sent Elder Wan, it was probably because he wanted to shift the blame. If there were really any mishaps during the tour, Elder Wan wouldn't be able to escape the blame. Naturally, he wouldn't be able to make things difficult for Master Ouyang. When everyone saw Yun Chujio come over, the expressions on their faces were all different. Xiao Yu snorted coldly, "Yun Chujio, you actually came at this time. Aren't you neglecting us too much?" Before Yun Chujio could speak, Tower Master Luochen said, "Little Jio has always liked to laze in bed. This lord is already used to it. Let's go, Elder Gu. Where should we go to take a look first?" Tower Master Luchen's words were very ambiguous, and everyone's expressions instantly became even more interesting, especially Xiao Yu. Her pretty face flushed red and her eyes were slightly red. She was on the verge of crying. Yun Chujio's heart was like a dog that had been bald. Lan Luochen, this psychopath. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. The gaze of a certain deity in Yun Chujio's sleeve was very cold. Did you call for little Jio? You're courting death. Elder Gu was also stunned for a moment, then said, "Our nameless sword sect is most famous for the sword pool. Let's go there and take a look first." The guests followed the host and naturally did not say anything. However, Sect Master Huang said with a hint of schadenfreude, "Elder Gu, I heard that almost half of the sword lights in the sword pool disappeared a few days ago. Have they recovered?" Elder Jiyu was not annoyed and sighed, "How can it recover so quickly? I'm afraid it will take 3 to 5 years to recover. But this is the will of heaven and there's nothing we can do about it." A certain Jiu was secretly delighted. What bullshit will of heaven? It was clearly swallowed by the kitchen knife. This fellow was in the wrong, so she suggested that the sword forging hall publicize the sword forging technique so that it could quickly fill the gap in the sword light. However, if the sect did not accept it, it could not be blamed on her. On the way, Xiao Yu intentionally or unintentionally walked beside Tower Master Luochen, while Yun Chujio was blocked behind by Elder Wan and the other two. Yun Chujio was very satisfied with this. She couldn't ask for more. However, after walking for a distance, Tower Master Luochen said gently, "Little Jio, come to my side. I want to ask you something." Yun Chujio said indifferently, "I'm not deaf. Speak, I can hear you." Everyone, this Yun Chujio was really capable of choking people. Would Tower Master Luochen fall out with her? What stunned everyone was that Tower Master Luochen only smiled gently. "Little Jio, you're still as naughty as before." Yun Chujio, "Naughty your grandma." You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.